45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We were talking about sports triggers. Mike is in Pennsylvania, has got one.
We never should have let Jimmy Butler go.
No.
Come playoff time?
I was tickled by it. He's got a laugh that makes me laugh. People said Kawhi Leonard in the chat.
Yeah, very much. Wow. Wow. Maggie, I think the Sixers are going to win the NBA championship this year.
The Bills will win a Super Bowl.
Don't say that.
The Jets will have a solid, dependable, steady season with no drama.
It's so good.
Can I just do one more?
Yeah, go ahead.
The Mets are going to figure it out.
That's just mean. We're just piling on Maggie.
It's so easy.
I threw in the Jets, too.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
The one quarterback that's going to take a big step backwards this year. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff across the country on CBS Sports Radio. We say hi to our affiliates. If you want to watch the show, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. The one quarterback who's going to take a step back this year, Perloff, is none other than Daniel Jones.
Dan Jones?
I can't understand how Daniel Jones turned a season where he had 22 touchdowns and 5 interceptions to go along with 6 fumbles. How some people believe that this is going to catapult the Giants somewhere bigger than where they were last year. Surprised by the Giants last year. They win a playoff game against fraud Minnesota. Then they go to Philadelphia, and they got it handed to them. And Daniel Jones was bad against Philly. He was not good against Dallas. Against the actual good teams that the Giants played last year, Daniel Jones wasn't good. He got paid. Good for him, but that doesn't mean he's all of a sudden this upper echelon quarterback and the Giants are just going to ride him to the playoffs.
So, first of all, they were a playoff team. That's something. He added Darren Waller. He added Jalen Hyatt. He added Paris Campbell. So they should be better. He's second year under Brian Daboll, which should be good. I think it's a function of the system, the coach. He put on muscle in the offseason, looked great. All the reporters are glowing about him in practice, saying he looks amazing. Looked great in preseason.
Yeah, best shape of my life. I can give you 28 other stories just like that.
Let me read you stats.
Okay.
This quarterback had 3,144 yards, 16 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. The following year, he had 3,700 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 6 picks. Last year, Daniel Jones had 3,200 yards, same, 15 touchdowns, 5 picks. I expect him to ascend like the first quarterback I mentioned.
Yeah,
Can you guess
it's going to be Josh Allen. I get
No.
Oh, no?
It is the 2021 Jalen Hurts with 16 touchdowns, 9 picks, jumped to MVP candidate the next year. Very similar running stats. Daniel Jones, more of a runner than a thrower last year. I think he has a Jalen Hurts-like jump. Yes, I said it. That's insane. He's not going to be as good as Hurts. Hurts went into MVP level. I think Daniel Jones figured something out, and his numbers, especially his numbers, I don't even know if he's going to be that good. His numbers are going to go way up this year. They're poised to skyrocket.
I love how people think because a guy, maybe his fumbles came down and turnovers came down in a contract year. After the current regime came in and said, we're not picking up your 5th-year option. He had everything to play for, right? And all of a sudden, he got rid of some bad habits, and now we just think those bad habits are gone for good. This is like the big reclamation project where Daniel Jones now has turned a corner, or is it more likely that he reverts back to what he was before and we get the Danny fumbles?
I think it was the coaching change. That's why it's different. He's a different player because he has a different head coach. And you have to admit there was some turmoil in the coaching staff when he got there. I can't remember. Was he who drafted McAdoo or no? What?
No, it was
It wasn't Joe Judge.
No, Joe Judge was before him. Was what's his face from gosh.
Pat Shurmur.
Pat Shurmur, thank you. I was like from the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, I love me some Pat Shurmur. Great play call.
Yeah.
Did he have
Yeah, he's a
McAdoo after Shurmur?
No. McAdoo was gone.
McAdoo was gone, then Shurmur, then Joe Judge. So come on, you go from Joe Judge to Brian Daboll. Maybe that was the only thing that was missing. And I understand he didn't throw a lot of touchdowns next year, but I think again, I'm assuming a lot of help from Waller. I think Waller's going to help him tremendously.
Yeah.
I think Hyatt's going to, what's the expression? Take the top off the muffin of that defense a little bit. He's a speedster out of Tennessee. Paris Campbell's actually had a really good preseason, some people are saying. I think that he is going to be better. I'm not guaranteeing the Giants are going to be a contender for the Super Bowl. I know their schedule gets a lot tougher, but I think he's going to take a big step up.
Okay. I think that you're looking at someone who got $81 million fully guaranteed off of one fine season. Not even great season, one fine season. Now the expectations are going to be higher. And you want to know what? There was a lot of questions. Hey, who's actually more important to this team, Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones? And do you want to know when those conversations were happening? Up until the last minute of the franchise tag. There were a lot of people who thought that Saquon Barkley should have gotten the longer-term contract, which nobody's giving to running backs these days, and that Daniel Jones should have been franchised to see if this is actually real, to see if it's the truth. That was a debate.
I don't know who was having that debate. That was before it became clear that no running back in the planet is getting paid. Now it seems silly. Of course they weren't going to pay Saquon. But it's funny. I feel like the two are ships passing the night. The buzz on Saquon is way down, and the buzz on Dan Jones is way up.
Meanwhile,
it's going to transform into a passing offense. And you've watched Dable with Josh Allen.
Yep.
I just think that it's going to be a similar trajectory. They're going to limit Saquon.
Listen, they would be stupid to limit Saquon. That would be dumb because he actually was incredible for them last year and is a great compliment to Daniel Jones. And they didn't even let Daniel Jones air it out at all last year. They weren't even throwing downfield. Granted, they didn't have a lot of great receivers, but they weren't even trying to do this wide open passing game. It was really short stuff, simple stuff, and him running. So is this going to get appreciably better? Because once you start asking Daniel Jones to do more for you, then you're also opening him up to a little bit more risk. Granted, he can throw a deep ball. The guy's got an arm, but that also comes with it more picks. And then you're add in, if he does, the fumbling stuff does come back in any way, then you're looking at mediocre, middle of the road Daniel Jones. What's more likely to happen?
I can't wait to see this play out. Also, one thing I will say about him, he seems slightly unflappable. And of course, who does that remind you of?
That's not true.
Really? I feel like
his personality, yes, he's even Steven, but on the field, he's had fumbles in games where he's had multiple fumbles, totally gets to him.
Not last year.
No, not last year, but he cut down on the fumbles last year. But in his career, he's had confidence games.
I didn't see any of that last year. I mean, yes, the Eagles game was an absolute joke. By the way, the Eagles defense is not going to be nearly as good next year. That's going to help him automatically. If I were him, I would avoid Micah Parsons at all costs.
Yeah, they lost to the Eagles. They got smoked 38-7. He went 15 for 27 with no touchdowns, 1 interception, and took 5 sacks.
Yeah, that game was ridiculous. They didn't. I mean, the Eagles were a house on fire. The Giants O-line did not hold up in that game, but I think throughout the season, he kind of got better and better and better. I'm into Daniel Jones. And by the way, when I say that, I mean, he doesn't have to have Patrick Mahomes stats. If he can go from 15 touchdowns and 5 picks to 25 touchdowns and 10 picks, that's pretty good for the Giants.
Well, I want to be fair to him. He had 7 rushing touchdowns, too.
Yeah. But do you think that's possible, that he'll be like a 25 to 30 touchdown guy, Pro Bowler?
Yeah, in the NFC.
Yeah, I think his numbers are about to step up.
Okay, if you don't think Daniel Jones is taking a step back, who do you think?
So this isn't really fair to say a step back because he was on and off last year. The guy whose preseason hype I'm worried about, I'm not sure this is going to be the year of Tua Tagovailoa.
Oof. Because I disagree, by the way.
Because his numbers fell off tremendously last year. It felt like, and I'm actually borrowing this from NFL Films analyst Greg Cosell, defenses figured out what the Dolphins were doing 100%. They were doing a unique offensive system, kind of like they called it their own air raid, where they was kind of throwing the spaces in the middle of the field, and then they started cutting off to his angles. And the last 5 games, he went had 6 touchdowns and 5 picks. The first 7 starts, 19 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Yeah, that was also 2 concussions in.
But he had incredible success after the first concussion. After he came back from concussions, he got red hot. But then something changed. They started playing them differently. So now they have to make another adjustment. The other worry is all the injuries in Miami. It feels like they could be that snake-bitten team. Jalen Ramsey, other side of the ball. But I'm really worried about that. He's not going to be back till December. Jeff Wilson Jr., one of their 2 running backs, put on the pup.
We saw that
He'll be
today,
out 4 weeks. I just feel like Miami could be that team that's going to be struggling all year with injuries and not be able to maximize their talent.
I think Miami as a whole will be fine. I think they have enough depth. But let's talk about Tua specifically. I don't see the step back coming on Tua. First of all, everyone's going to be like a hawkeye on him. We all become neurologists, and rightfully so. Like, we don't want to see a guy visibly woozy on a field. That's uncomfortable for all of us. But there's going to be so much like on him. I think that they are going to protect him better, right? Like, that's got to be, him getting the ball out sooner,
well, right, but
them protecting him.
That's going to hurt his numbers if he can't hold on to the ball for Tyreek Hill to run downfield.
Okay, but I think you would take a step back slightly in the numbers and you would take 17 games out of Tua, right?
I think you would. I think that's a good point, but I do think you lose some of that specialness if he's just trying to get rid of a ball and won't wait for Tyreek to burn his man.
Okay, but that's also okay. In my opinion, it's okay because Tyreek Hill's also a good yards after catch guy because he's so fast and elusive, and you've got Waddle. Like, I just think you have these talented skill position players. If it means having to alter your game plan to protect Tua, you do it.
Yeah, but if you're a defense, defenses are not dumb. They've been watching Tua tape all. If they're doing nothing but short passes, they're going to creep up, which means then Tyreek Hill would burn him, but which means then you have to hold on to the ball. I don't know. It just feels like a tough spot. This health thing does not. You're viewing it as almost a good thing because they're all going to be focused on protecting him. I view it as a negative because it's going to be in his head.
855-212-4CBS. Yes, the fact that he said he did contemplate retiring this offseason, that's not nothing. I think that was also people in his life probably telling him, hey, really think about it. It's not, nothing's worth your brain.
You're not going to pull out the judo thing?
The jiu-jitsu?
Oh, jiu-jitsu. It wasn't judo. They're the same thing, I think.
I'm going to wait and see on the jiu-jitsu. Is there any factual evidence that helps you fall better and that's worked for quarterbacks?
Probably. Jiu-jitsu is like wrestling, right?
Yeah, but like the thing is about jiu-jitsu though is the other guy 300 pounds because usually jiu-jitsu you're kind of fighting somebody who's sort of your same weight and height.
So everything I know about jiu-jitsu, which is from watching Anthony Bourdain do jiu-jitsu, because he was related to jiu-jitsu. It's about
the
using
former chef?
Yeah, you use the opponent's weight against them. So it's about manipulating that person coming at you.
Yeah. How do you do that when it's...
Well, it's a martial art. Yeah, like I weigh a lot more than you.
Yeah.
If you knew jiu-jitsu, I could fall on you and you'd push the weight around, so I would get hurt.
Listen, I wouldn't be able to even fight back because I'm blinded by your Penn State hat today and your Penn State sweatshirt. What happened? What are you like?
What do you mean?
Trying out for the team?
What are you talking about? Just wearing my school's gear.
Yeah, right. Your school. I forgot you went to Penn State?
No, I didn't go to Penn State, but I mean, a lifelong fan.
Lifelong?
Lifelong.
You got evidence of this? You have photo evidence of you in State College, like at 10 years old?
10? No, I have evidence of me at 30.
You were working by then.
I'm from Philadelphia.
Okay. And
Penn State, Philadelphia.
Yeah. I talked to someone else from Philadelphia in our office, our boss. I said, so Penn State, that's Philly, that's Philly's college? He goes, no, that's not true at all. So what do you mean? Perloff said that. He goes, no, just a lot of Penn State alums live in Philly.
Yeah.
He said Philly is almost more of a Notre Dame town than it is a Penn State town.
That is so wrong. Yes, most years that is the case. But when Penn State is top 10 preseason, then it is a Philadelphia
so
team.
Philly's a bandwagon town. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, I just don't think our boss had looked at the preseason rankings. Yes, and a year like this, when we have a quarterback like Drew Aller, yes, Penn State is a Philadelphia. Most people think Pittsburgh and Philadelphia are near each other in Pennsylvania. A lot of people don't understand the geography of Pennsylvania, and I'm going to be taking advantage of that. You even bought it a little bit.
Well, because I don't think you're lying to me when we're talking on the show.
Why would you not think I'm lying to you?
Because I don't. What am I going to say back?
When it comes to my fandom, you know that I'm a famous bandwagon jumper.
I can't. I didn't have enough ammo to call you out on that one. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio is where you can join the chat. The Weedos, the Purple Drinkers. Got a couple comments here that are worth talking about. We're talking about quarterbacks who could take a step back. Anthony Toto says it's Tua's contract year. He's going to try everything to earn a huge one. There you go.
Good point.
But hopefully, like, if he actually is concussed, that the team's going to, look out for him a little bit there.
That's so like NFL teams to take care of their own.
And Two-Ton Tony said Tua just watched a jiu-jitsu video.
Yeah, I know.
That was not clear. Was he actually training with someone?
But didn't he say he let this guy roll off him a certain way in preseason and he was very happy with the results?
No, but is it clear that he actually went to a jiu-jitsu place and learned it?
Not clear at all.
Yeah, a YouTube tutorial doesn't count.
Listen, well, also, too, there was that big controversy about his weight because he put on this muscle. Then ESPN's Ryan Clark said that he looked chubby or something.
Yeah.
So
he had a body like Onyx.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't generally buy this idea that if you're concussion prone, you can put on 20 pounds of muscle and it's going to make you that much safer. Maybe, but listen, this sport is so brutal. I'm not sure it makes any difference.
855-212-4CBS. I agree with you. 855-212-4227. You're welcome to weigh in. Quarterbacks we think are going to take a step backward this year. I say Daniel Jones. Perloff says Tua Tagovailoa. All right, coming up, got a lot more to do today, including we finally have an answer to one of the greatest sports debates of all time. And Carlos back on the show today. So, Carlos, hello, which means we'll be doing theme music when we return from break. So what will today's theme be? We're all going to find out together. 855-212-4CBS. It is Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal, and law enforcement officers can tell if you're driving high. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Paid for by NHTSA. This is Carlos's theme for today. It sounds like a video game thing or a circus.
Yeah, this is Mario Brothers.
So you're just going to play video game songs? I mean,
We got the theme.
Well, but you have to be songs like the song. No one here remembers the song Pac-Man Fever, do they?
No, I'm not playing like songs about video games. I'll play the actual tracks.
Okay, because there's only one song I can think of. Actually, there was a whole album in the 80s about video games. It was Ode to a Centipede, Pac-Man Fever. This is really old. There's no, but you guys never.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles had a theme song when it became a cartoon, but it was also a video game.
Okay, you got to find the song Pac-Man Fever. It's probably the dumbest song ever written. You will like it. Carlos, it'll be right up your alley for later in the show.
It's the dumbest song ever. He said, Carlos, you'll love it.
Yeah, what do you think about me?
No, I mean, everybody will. Anybody who likes fun will like the song. He goes, it's about a guy who has a bad case of Pac-Man fever.
Oh, gosh.
There ain't no vaccine for that.
Oh, man. Sheesh. Oh, boy. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. So, okay, the theme today, our rejoin music will all be video games. I got to tell you, if it's anything past like the year 2010, I'm pretty much going to be out on this.
I made my promise to you that if it's post 2000, we're not playing it.
Yeah, by the way, you had the wrong number to start. If it's anything in the 20s, do they still? They don't even really have like those classic like cheesy sounds anymore, do they? Now the games are so complex.
I don't know. Does Grand Theft Auto have like a theme song?
Pop music and things.
Grand Theft Auto uses like modern music. Well, they use set period music. So like if it's based in the 80s, they'll use like 80s music.
Really?
Got it. They really indulge you. Okay. So one of the great long-standing debates of all time, Perloff, who's the greatest ever? And when I say greatest ever, I mean quarterback.
Okay.
Now, you and I did our great debate series over the summer. Little did we know we just had to go to Joe Montana himself, and he would have settled it for us. Joe Montana, doing an interview in Men's Health, was asked to pick splitting hairs here, the greatest quarterback of all time.
Okay.
He believes that's different than the best quarterback of all time. Okay? The best quarterback of all time would be someone who has won a lot, presumably Brady. The greatest quarterback of all time, according to Joe Montana, is not Joe Montana. It's not Brady. Dan Marino.
I think you have a mix-up.
What's that?
The best is Dan Marino. The greatest is Tom Brady and Joe Montana. Right? The best. He means... I thought... Okay.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Greatest is for career achievements, and best is individual talent.
Meaning, so Joe Montana is saying Dan Marino is the most talented quarterback ever to play. Okay. Then why is this? Why do I keep reading the headline today? Joe Montana says Dan Marino is the GOAT. That's not exactly what he's saying.
No, because the headlines are wrong.
Yeah, and Samter made sure to call everyone out on the internet.
Did you actually send a note to Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk?
No, I retweeted it and I commented back to their tweet because their headline said Montana calls Marino the greatest, but the reality is he differentiated in the article, greatest is for achievements, best is for talented, and he specifically said Marino is the best, most talented quarterback who's ever played.
He said, quote, he had a quick release. He said he had the perfect torque on his upper body and strength to deliver the ball quickly at a fast release with accuracy. And then basically said he said, quote, put Marino in today's game where he gets free release and his receivers, holy cow, weren't very big. Now these guys are 6'4", 6'5". I think Marino is probably one of the most unsung heroes of the game. People don't talk enough about him or realize the numbers that he put up during the times that he put them up. Well, Joe, maybe it's because you beat him in the only Super Bowl that he ever went to is why we don't talk about Marino as much. To be fair, though, I think Marino and Charles Barkley are probably the two guys who don't have rings, who we do talk about the most, and we don't leave them out of these conversations because they were that good.
I think Marino's even held in higher regard than Charles Barkley. Everybody thinks Dan Marino's, like, awesome. I don't think Dan Marino's underrated.
I don't either.
I think he's worshipped by a certain age of football people because Joe Montana was the greatest winner of his era. There's no doubt, but I don't think anybody thought Joe Montana was a better quarterback than Dan Marino, right? In the sense of what Joe's talking about, like skills, arm talent. The only one that you could argue is maybe John Elway was a more talented quarterback. I think you could make a really great case there. But I don't even think this is that controversial. Similarly, do you think it's fair to say Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Tom Brady?
I think he's better, yeah.
He's definitely
a better skilled quarterback, but Brady is obviously the player of this generation and beyond. Now, what's interesting also about Joe Montana is he was asked the one person closest to supplanting him as the greatest of all time. He said is, quote, by far Patrick Mahomes. The things he does and is able to do are so different than what any other quarterback does who's out there. Listen, I think Mahomes could end up going out as the best quarterback of all time, but will he get to 6 Super Bowls to supplant Brady as the greatest of all time? I don't know if he's going to get to 6.
Well,
if anybody can, he's off to a great start, but I don't know if he'll get to 6.
I mean, the psychology is not complicated here. We know what Joe's doing.
Not mentioning Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah. I don't even care about what he says about Mahomes. I agree. Yeah, Mahomes could get in that conversation.
Yeah.
But how can you not say Tom Brady right now? It's not like Brady's been away from the game that long.
Brady is obviously the greatest quarterback.
So is Joe Montana that petty? Wasn't there a book recently that revealed Joe Montana might be a little bit petty?
It was Wright Thompson from ESPN, the piece during Super Bowl. And then we talked to Joe Montana about it. And, he kind of sidestepped it and said he has a lot of respect for Brady. But the crux of that entire profile on Joe Montana was how he feels forgotten because Brady has now basically supplanted him.
Yeah, I think he definitely has. I mean, any list of greatest in football, that's so easy to be Tom Brady. We did that debate. And remember, we said who's number 2.
Yep, because we couldn't even say who's the greatest quarterback of all time because it would have been a silly debate to debate Brady versus anyone else.
Right. Didn't I take Montana and you took Elway or you took Peyton?
Peyton Manning.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand what Joe Montana is saying. Dan Marino, you could easily argue he's the most talented quarterback ever. But it's disingenuous not to put Brady. You have to, in the same sentence, say Brady's the greatest ever.
Do you think this reflects poorly on Montana? He's just competitive.
Yeah, he's competitive. Yeah, it doesn't bother me. In fact, I still like Joe Montana just as much. It does strike me as a little petty. But I understand that competitiveness is kind of what made Joe Montana great, right? Like, this is okay, right? Because we want our quarterbacks.
But it's not the football field anymore. Like, I know now it's just like acknowledging something that we all know is true.
So I'd love to hear, does Joe ever explain what was incomplete in Tom Brady's career? Like, how can Patrick Mahomes pass Tom Brady?
Well, I guess, for a while, you could at least make that conversation that Montana went 4 for 4. The Michael Jordan conversation, whereas Brady's gone to Super Bowls and lost them. He's lost 3.
And Mahomes has lost twice in the playoffs to Brady. So, for him to surpass Brady, he's going to have to really just, leaps and bounds over him, I think. I mean, I don't know if he needs 7 rings,
Wait,
but he's going to be close.
You said Mahomes lost twice?
Twice to Brady, once to Brady, right?
Once to Brady?
He
And
lost to
once
Tampa.
in the AFC Championship
And in the
game.
Super Bowl.
Oh, right, and they lost to Tampa.
Right, oh, right.
Once in the AFC Championship game, once in the Super Bowl.
But he's 2-1 in Super Bowls. I think we're going to remember his Super Bowl record.
Right, but he's already behind Montana in the undefeated reign. So even if he goes like 5-1, Montana still says I was undefeated.
I don't think people care about that. The Jordan thing, Jordan being 6 for 6, wasn't really what, I mean, the fact that no one was even close to him during that entire era.
And the fact that he has more rings than LeBron, that's what people point to.
No. LeBron could play 27 years and get 6 rings, and nobody's going to think it was like Jordan. I think it's just a different sport, too. And also Montana.
But that's the one thing Joe Montana did have on Brady for a while. But now that Brady has more rings, I think that conversation went by the wayside.
And by the way, Jordan was 6 in a row, where Montana was...
Well, break in between, but yeah.
Yeah, Montana was kind of all over the place. And then Montana was, of course, hurt because Steve Young did the same exact thing. If Mac Jones had come in and won a Super Bowl, that might have hurt Tom Brady. But look what happened to the Patriots. I mean, and look what's about to happen to the Bucs, more importantly.
Yeah, that could be a little rough.
That's how we judge players, by what happens after they leave. So I'm down with Montana saying here, but it reveals more about Joe Montana than it does Dan Marino or Tom Brady.
It's just interesting that Mahomes could whitewash all of this. Like, he has the opportunity to really, I mean, he's still so young. I know he's had some injuries, but he played on basically one leg of the Super Bowl, and he still won.
Yeah, 6 Super Bowls or 7 Super Bowls? That seems really unlikely. He's 27.
Yeah.
I mean, Brady already had 3 under his belt by this time. I think Mahomes is, listen, he'll be there a lot, but he's much like Tom Brady. It's like he's going to have a lot of close Super Bowls. 38-35 in Glendale last year. He's not going to win all of those. So he's not going to win 7. I'll bet anything. I hope we're still doing the show.
It's going to be really
There's no
hard.
way he wins 7. It's just the salary cap era is so much. There's so much parity now. When Brady came in 2002, it's a little more easy to have a dynasty. Now it's impossible.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Craig in the chat says Mahomes will get 5, leave Kansas City, and end up at the Jets for number 6. LOL. No way.
He's 40.
There's not another quarterback coming to the Jets like this. The Aaron Rodgers thing, well, I guess Favre did it. Then Rodgers.
Packers keep repeating history. Why won't the Jets keep on repeating
So
history?
Jordan Love will be there in like 20 years?
I mean, if history holds true, Jordan Love will be the 2034 quarterback. Hard Knocks will come back. It's been gone for 11 years. He'll come back and do a 6-hour glory fest about Jordan Love. By the way, Hard Knocks sold its soul. Can we just agree with that? I mean, they're not even trying to show the other players. They're just like, hey, welcome to Hard Knocks Aaron Rodgers 2023.
It's a lot of Rodgers. We got a little of, the 2 wide receivers who were friends trying to make the team.
I mean, I've heard many people say this is the most single player dominated Hard Knocks in history. Even J.J. Watt, who could find a camera anywhere, wasn't on half as much as Rodgers.
I know, but Rodgers is also the most interesting part about the Jets this year, and he's being very generous with his time. So if I was the director of Hard Knocks or the producer, I'd be like, yes, let's just Aaron Rodgers this thing to as much as we possibly can.
But there's been 15 years of Hard Knocks. There's tons of stars. I mean, they've never totally sold out and followed the star around until this year.
No, I think it's 2 to tango, though. Like how you said, Rodgers loves the camera. I think the fact that Rodgers is being so, open to them and playing up to the cameras and doing all that stuff, that they're like, this is gold. Why would we get in the way of this? It's like a coach with a lead in the 4th quarter. Like, just keep doing what you're doing.
Definitely. Second place is J.J. Watt, who was on a ridiculous amount for the Texans. Dude, you like to take naps. We get it, okay?
Get a little secret nap cove. Lucky guy. That's how you know you're really valued by your employer. They're like, sleep on the job.
Well,
That's going to make you better.
NFL teams are into that, though.
Yeah, but I've been to a lot of NFL facilities. I don't see a lot of napping rooms. Not that I'd be privy to that, but
training camp, though, yeah. I mean,
they don't even do 2-a-days anymore.
When they go off the practice field, they all disappear behind a wall where media can't see. How did we know they're not asleep?
I guess they could be asleep. I don't know.
I think they are.
I could ask former players that I've worked with, were you sleeping once you left the practice field? I think they go in the cold tub and then they go home. Go to meetings.
No, I don't think they leave the facility. They're there.
They eat,
I would hope. Because
hang out, play ping pong.
The practice is like 10 to 11:30. I'm hoping they're spending 8 hours. They lift. Yeah, I think they nap, Maggie. I think this is a real thing.
Team nap?
Sleep science is huge. I mean, obviously, Hard Knocks had that Browns trailer that was so creepy.
Yeah, the creepy Browns show. Like, who knows what those guys are watching in there?
But there was like 15 guys asleep together. It looked like, remember
it was
that?
quarterbacks only, I thought.
No, it was the whole team. There was 20 beds in the room. Then they had the camera in there. They were literally sleeping. They looked like they were in pods about to like become aliens or something.
No, what was the thing in Cleveland? They had like didn't Baker Mayfield and the other quarterbacks had their own trailer? That's what it was.
Yeah. Baker had his own trailer. I don't think the other quarterbacks did. I think Baker just had his own trailer.
That was just him?
I think that was just a Baker thing.
But do you remember the nap room? And they were in there a lot. They were legitimately napping, which I don't get. Can you nap around friends? I cannot do that.
Imagine if the show we all went and took a nap in a room.
I can nap with friends, but only if there's like, some spooning.
That's a prerequisite?
Yeah. Me and Stu, I got the big spoon.
I'm sure he'd be thrilled to hear that when he gets back from vacation. We've already decided and decreed we're all taking a nap and you're the little spoon. 855-212-4CBS. Imagine how quickly we'd be fired. 855-212-4227. Okay, coming up, the biggest question surrounding the college football season, and it has to do with Deion Sanders. Get to that after this CBS Sports Update. Here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
After acquiring T.J. Hawkinson from the Lions, the Vikings certainly liked what they saw and have reportedly come to terms with the tight end on a 4-year extension worth $42 million guaranteed. That is the highest for any tight end in NFL history. Week 1 of the college football season opens tonight with a good matchup. The rematch between Florida and Utah. The Gators won by a field goal last year. This time, the series moves to Salt Lake City. Utes head coach Kyle Whittingham expects another battle tonight.
Florida Gators coming to our place. If we ever had an SEC team, first time we ever had an SEC team come to Salt Lake City, so groundbreaking in that respect. Second game of a home with the Gators. We all know what happened last year. Came out on the short end. They played well. We didn't.
The Utes won't have quarterback Cam Rising, who is not yet back after a torn ACL suffered in the Rose Bowl last year. The White Sox moved quickly to name their new general manager after firing Kenny Williams and Rick Hahn, promoting 40-year-old assistant Chris Getz to the role. And this afternoon in Detroit, top of the 9th, the Tigers lead the Yankees by a score of 3-0. I'm Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio is everywhere, at home, in your car, and, of course, on your phone and tablet. Find us on your local affiliate, SiriusXM Channel 158, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Carlos is playing video game theme songs for us.
Wait, what was the first one?
Mario Brothers. That was last hour.
Yeah, it was the Mario Brothers underwater theme. I didn't want to go with the obvious one.
Okay, this is...
Now, I thought this would be a layup.
Is this Kid Icarus?
Wow, pulling Kid Icarus.
It's not Kid Icarus?
No.
I don't even know what Kid Icarus
is. Is this Contra?
No.
I thought about it, but no.
Wait, this isn't like Cubert or Donkey Kong or something obvious?
No, this is like maybe the most popular game in history.
Punch-Out?
No. Think blocks.
Oh, is this Tetris? This is the Tetris theme?
That's Tetris.
Tetris has a song?
This plays the entire time. Like, whereas Mario Brothers plays the beginning, this plays the entire time, but it can never shut it off.
Wait, fade it out. How did we all not go collectively insane playing
Because
Tetris?
you turned the volume off.
No, because this was such a wonderful, beautiful, and it was
nobody had the sound off for Tetris, did they?
And then it sped up as it got harder.
Yes, I remember that. That's anxiety-ridden.
I got to be honest.
That was nightmare fuel.
I was amazing at Tetris. Were you guys? Oh, my God, was I so good at Tetris.
Perloff, who comes in with the big brag.
What did we even play Tetris on? I don't remember. Was it on?
It was on Game Boy.
I played on Game Boy.
I had it somewhere totally different. Was it on the computer,
Was
too?
it on your TI-83?
Was on... No, like I remember even in the 2000s. Was it on our phones?
No.
I'm sure,
maybe.
like with Candy Crush and all. I'm sure you get anything on your phone.
No, but I mean, I played Tetris all the time. I think it was on phones in like the 2000s.
Did you have a razor? 855.
Remember how advanced a BlackBerry was back in the day? Oh.
Yes. Texting. Man, I'm surprised that song wasn't more pleasant. Anyway, let's get to college football here because the expectations surrounding Colorado, Perloff, I think are really kind of out of whack. And I think it's people like me. And I'll cell phone here because I can look at Colorado and see that they've got like 3 people left over from last year's team. It's an entirely new squad, and that makes me excited about them. I can look at their schedule and see all these really tough games, but yet it feels like there's such an unknown about Colorado. How do I know that all these transfers couldn't come together and gel and make something that's like pretty spry or something that's really going to put a scare into a lot of these teams? We just don't know.
Well, I mean, has it ever happened before?
Well, the transfer portal's only existed for a couple years.
I think common sense is, all these guys might be super talented, but I think it would take a long time for the coaches and the players to all gel and figure out the system. So I think this formula, bringing in all new players, is a formula for short-term pain, long-term gain.
Well, but I mean, not really. Like,
well, I mean, USC's defense certainly had trouble coming together last year. I don't feel like, I think common sense is, you bring in a bunch of transfers. Sometimes it takes time.
No, I get that, but this is so unprecedented and you do actually have some stalwarts here in terms of Travis Hunter. Like, you do have some real legit talent in certain positions that, why couldn't everyone come together? Like,
well, I think experience is more important than talent. Basketball, it's glaringly obvious that experience is way more important.
Okay, but I'm glad you brought up basketball because last year I watched the Final Four be San Diego State, Florida Atlantic, Miami, and UConn.
Yeah, but those are all really old teams.
No, but they were transfers. Like guys who, yes, had experience, but a lot of them are playing for their first season with those teams.
No, I'm this pleading ignorance here. Is Colorado all like fifth-year guys?
A lot of the guys are older. So I'm looking at their depth chart, and it's a mixed bag. You got juniors, sophomores, seniors. You got grad transfers. It's, redshirt sophomores. It's a mix. It's not
funny,
just all freshmen.
But I hear about all the 5-star talent in Colorado. You're right. It's a wild mix. And I love the fact they play TCU this weekend, and Sonny Dykes, the coach at TCU, said, I have no film to watch. I don't know what they're going to do. So that is an advantage. But I do feel like this idea of throwing together a team, I would generally say that sounds really hard. But the bigger problem is not just that. It's your head coach.
Why is he a problem?
Because he's not going to get in front of the cameras and say, lose the first game 34-10 and say, well, I'm happy with the effort here. We're building something special. I'm pleased, which is like the normal approach to an all new team like this. He's Deion.
Yeah.
How is he's never lost at anything in his entire life. He was the greatest player of his generation. He doesn't know how to do this. He has no patience whatsoever.
Okay, but I guess we don't know how that's going to manifest itself through the season. Like what? He's going to say this isn't good enough, and he's going to set this new standard at Colorado that they haven't had for a long time.
How do you know that? How do you know he's not going to completely melt down? That guy's never lost anything in his entire life. He's no idea how he's going to handle losing.
Okay, but one thing that's even more important, I think, to Deion Sanders than winning is staying cool. Staying even-keeled, staying cool.
Yeah.
No, nothing can slap him.
Staying cool like, yo, man, I'm cool. We're staying cool like cool, calm, and collected.
No,
I didn't see him as a broadcaster not always keep his cool. I don't know if he's going to be cool with losing. I think he's going to really flip out.
Well, listen, I mean,
he went in first day and said, "You guys suck. Get out of here." That was not cool.
He also said that I'm bringing baggage with me, and it's a Louis Vuitton. I mean,
he's great. He's great when things are good. What's he going to say if they get blown out in a game or two?
Listen, I didn't love coming in and basically telling guys, you better hit the transfer portal because you're not going to have a spot here. But from the response from inside college football, people weren't fazed by that. It was, all right, you're being honest with them and telling them to hit the transfer portal and giving them a chance to go somewhere else. We might not have liked how he delivered the message, but ultimately a lot of coaches would come in and have the same result, which is I want to bring new guys in.
Yeah, but this is unprecedentedly fast. He cut everybody. Here's I think the issue. If you're talking about inside college football, I think a lot of people are nervous about how new this team is. They just, a lot of guys there have not had time in this system. So I think that's, again, back to common sense. It takes time to get comfortable with everybody, to learn what the coach wants you to do. I mean, they've had part of an offseason to do this. It's not a lot of time. If they could pull this off now, to me, that would be a miracle. And they are if they have a winning season, to me, that's one of the great upsets in college football history. Because there's no way these players can get used to all this and know what the coaches want and execute and do it all this fast. That would be incredible.
Okay, well, how about a team from last year that had a new coach, had transfers, and did something unprecedented? And it's the team that Colorado's playing this weekend in TCU. Now, TCU was coming from a higher floor than where Colorado is coming off a one-win season, so I'll give you that. But they had a new coach. They had a lot of transfers. They came together, and they shocked everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, Max Duggan was like 30, right? And Quentin Johnson, he certainly was a transfer. He was awesome. They had, I mean, listen, they seem to have a lot more stability than Colorado.
Well, that's because nobody's had this much turnover as Colorado.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We just saw a team in TCU that was like a watered down version of that much, and they went to the college football playoff and then won a game and went to the championship.
So you're saying the 2021 TCU to 2022 TCU is similar to Colorado?
I'm just saying we watched it in this new era of transfer portal. We watched a team that took a lot of transfers and had a new head coach and immediately found success. We saw it on the men's side in terms of the Final Four. Like, we're seeing how this works in college sports. I don't know if it's immediately going to work for Colorado, but they have a shot. Now, their schedule is not easy. So, as you mentioned, they're at TCU. That's a noon game, noon Eastern. On the 2nd. Then they're against home for Nebraska, so at least they get a little of the home field advantage with the altitude and stuff. Then Colorado State. Then they're at Oregon, home for USC, at Arizona State, home for Stanford, at UCLA, home for Oregon State, home for Arizona, then at Washington State and at Utah.
Yeah, I mean, if they had more time to figure this out, they would have made a softer schedule. In reality,
well, that's all done years in advance.
Yeah, no, I know. That's why it's going to be a tough year. Like, I think they're going to have to get used to losing. And I don't think that's a hot take. I mean, their over-under is 3.5 wins.
Yeah. No, it's not. And right now, the spread on that TCU game is, what is it? What's
17?
the latest?
Or is it even bigger?
20.5.
Okay. By the way,
it's an unknown. I'm telling you, I've never been more curious about a game with a 20.5 point spread as I am with this Colorado TCU matchup.
Yeah. Usually these 20.5 point spreads sound great in theory, and then you're watching like, oh boy. But it is a new quarterback for TCU, so we'll see. I don't know. By the way, you're saying like TCU is nothing like Colorado. I'm looking, the Kendra Miller, Quentin Johnson, Max Duggan, they'd all had 4 years in the system at TCU.
New coach, the same system.
Not the same system, but at least they knew the facility, they knew everything. Like, there was a comfort level. They basically took a lot of Gary Patterson guys who were well coached. This is all new in Colorado. And you're right. The fact that it's completely unknown, I feel like you're painting that as a potential positive, which could easily be a huge negative, that it's so unknown. Like, we don't know what to expect. It could be worse than we think.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Quickly mention that Colorado will play TCU this week and then Nebraska. Did anyone catch a little of Nebraska's volleyball game yesterday?
Unbelievable. I've never seen that much red in my life.
They set the record for the most attended women's sporting event of all time, with over 92,000 people were in attendance last night. And it was wild. And I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I have a little. So back in 2007, I did play-by-play for women's volleyball for ESPNU, calling some games in the NCAA tournament. I called a game, Nebraska versus Cal. It ended up being a huge upset where Cal won. But Nebraska, this was in Madison, Wisconsin, was where the regional was. Perloff, when I tell you the Nebraska women's volleyball team traveled like the Rolling Stones, people don't believe me. And then you see what happened last night, and I felt very vindicated. There was 92,000 people showing up to watch a women's volleyball match.
Amazing.
That's incredible. I mean, you had a lot of things that came together, which is Nebraska is, known for volleyball throughout the state. They were playing in-state rival Omaha. They had another match before it, and then they did like a Scotty McCreery also performed. The weather was great. They canceled classes yesterday at the University of Nebraska so everyone could attend.
Wow, that I'm against. I always put academics first. Wait, what was so big about this match? I actually couldn't figure that out. I watched the highlight. Why was this match? Was it just a random one, or was there something specific?
You know, they said this is like volleyball day in the state of Nebraska. It's actually just a massive recruiting ploy by Nebraska.
But brilliant.
Yeah, super brilliant. And I thought it was wild. I watched about an hour of it last night. I thought it was excellent. Well executed. Atmosphere looked great. All that. All right, coming up, we're going to preview Florida State, LSU with Danny Cannell, who's going to join us next. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Okay. This is Andrew Perloff with a CBS Sports Minute. Wait, sorry. This is Andrew Perloff with a CBS Sports Minute. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute. If Deion Sanders was anyone but Deion Sanders, he would probably try to lower expectations in Colorado. He took over a 1-11 team and basically flipped the entire roster. It's an unprecedented experiment. You normally would want time to gel, but Deion is arguably the greatest talker the sport has ever seen. And he was always able to back it up as a player, but this is going to be tough. He might need patience, one of the few skills Deion doesn't seem to have. I'm Andrew Perloff.
Let's see. You sent me an email. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you. This is Maggie Gray with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. This is Maggie Gray with a CBS Sports Minute sponsored by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. What we're seeing out of the Arizona Cardinals is an unmistakable tank job, but could it all be for naught? Former head coach Steve Wilks testified in an ongoing arbitration complaint about the Cardinals that team owner Michael Bidwell directed him to use a burner phone supplied by the team to communicate with general manager. There we go. Former head coach Steve Wilks testified in an ongoing arbitration complaint against the Cardinals that team owner Michael Bidwell directed him to use a burner phone supplied by the team to communicate with general manager Steve Keim while Keim was serving a suspension for a DUI. If this clear violation of the rules is subject to suspension, If this clear violation of the rules is subject to a penalty, results in a penalty. If this clear violation of the rules results
1 minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I think the whole industry and everybody who says that they're good at tasting wine is lying. I think it's the biggest mass lie.
It's all perpetrated by big wine?
In the history of mankind, there's no bigger lie than people can tell which wine is good.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I love people who are like, I'm just tasting and spitting out and like, I'm not here to get loaded. Get out of here.
Wineries are the scenes of so many crimes. People get sloppy at wineries.
We were
like
at a
dress over your head type stuff. Once my husband and I, we were still dating, went to wine country, but took bikes.
I just had this image of you following your husband on a bike, just veering off slowly into the right, tipping over, and just like Maggie's asleep on the sidewalk.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Got a full slate. College football starting tonight. Perloff, Utah and Florida, a rematch of what was a really fun, entertaining game last year. And for more, let's welcome in our pal Danny Cannell, CBS Sports HQ NFL analyst. And Danny, we want to get your thoughts on FSU, LSU, on everything. But first, Deion Sanders in Colorado. Perloff and I were just talking about the realistic expectations for them, because I see the unknown of their roster and think this could have huge potential, huge upside. Perloff thinks it's going to be impossible for them to all come together in a season and gel. What do you think?
I lean more with Perloff on this one. So I had a little beef with Deion over the last 24 hours because he was almost like denying that he started his career at Florida State. Like, he was talking with a reporter and she said, "I'm a Cane, you're a Knoll." And he goes, "I'm a what?" He's like, "I didn't get my degree from there." And then he was like talking about Talladega with HBCU, where he got his degree from, which was awesome. But it was kind of odd. But I think Deion has a method to his madness with everything that he does, right? And there's a camera everywhere he goes. I think the one thing about Deion that is misunderstood is behind all the smoke and mirrors, behind all the Louis luggage and gold chains and sunglasses and all the flair, I think he's a really good football coach. I do. And I think he's an old school football coach. Like, I think he gets after his guys. He's very disciplined. He holds them to a high standard when it comes to like being on time and stuff that matters. But I do think it's going to take some time to turn around that roster. There's continuity that's involved here that I think there'll be some growing pains. Travis Hunter, who's one of the best players, it was a 5-star number 1 recruit in the country that he stole from Florida State, that took to Jackson State, brought with him to Colorado. They're talking about him having to play 2 ways, and maybe he's a defensive back, but he might be playing more at wide receiver because they need him to. Like, they don't have the guys that can just be true wide receivers. So they need every athlete that's out there to be contributing that much. So I think it's going to be, I think next year is the year you'll see the leap. But I think this year could be a little rough. Plus, Maggie, the schedule is brutal. Like, there's a very real possibility they could start off 1-4. There's significant underdogs, in 4 out of their first 5 games against really good teams. Then I wonder, like, in a team that's been bought and recruited, because we can do that. We can say this now. It's always happened, but now we can say it. Like, you go there to win a championship. What happens when you're 1-4? Are you still bought in? Are you still going to work every day and, come with the same mentality and attitude? So I would love to be wrong, but I actually think they go under their win total 3.5. So I think it's going to be a long year for him.
Wait, Danny, the FSU on FSU crime here with you and Deion. So you said he's always intentional. Why do you think he would try to deny his FSU roots when he's one of the most famous players who's ever come out of that program?
So I've been trying to figure this out. I think there's one of two reasons. One, I think he really wanted to coach at Florida State. And I think he's upset that they didn't let him, give him the opportunity when they could have. The other thing is he really, when he left Jackson State, he took a lot of heat and criticism from the HBCU family and from a lot of those universities. Why? Because when he took that job, if you remember, he's like, I want to put HBCUs on the map. I feel called by God to do this, and I'm going to turn this. I'm going to bring attention to these programs. And then he left for the better opportunity, which I don't think anybody with a sane mind would fault him for. But I think he's taken a lot of criticism for that, and so he wanted to remind people, hey, I did get my degree from an HBCU. So there's definitely some motives behind this. I don't know. He replied to me, and I didn't really understand the reply. And I still have a tremendous amount of respect for him. But I thought he could have handled it better. And of course, I'm biased. I'm a Seminole. You could have given some love to Coach Bowden. You could have said, hey, I'm always garnet gold, but I did get my degree from HBCU, and I'm thoroughly a Colorado Buffalo now. But I just thought it was awkward how he didn't even want to acknowledge that he was a Seminole.
It's interesting because I think this happens to a lot of guys in college who win at a high level and then have to get used to losing in the NFL. Deion really, how is he going to lose? It doesn't strike me like that's something that he's had a lot of experience. I assume everyone's different, but do you think he's going to be able to learn how to do that effectively?
No, I don't think so at all, Perloff. That's why I think it's going to be must-watch TV no matter what happens, win or lose. Because if they win, we're going to be watching them celebrate, and they're going to have, they're going to be a story that's going to be fun to watch. If they lose, I don't think Deion, it's going to sit well with him at all. And I think he's going to be on his players. I think you see some players getting their butts chewed out. I think you see guys benched. He's going to do whatever it takes. So I think it's going to be like you're just going to want to watch and see. And I think it'll take its toll on him. I think it'll be hard for him, but he won't find it acceptable. And I think he'll continue to weed out guys that aren't cut out for his program. That's why I think this year is more of. That's why I think it'll be the rougher year. I think that weed out process continues.
Danny Kanell is joining us, CBS Sports HQ NFL analyst, also joining us on behalf of Bet Online. And there's a lot of cool bets that you can make this week, that's for sure. Danny, I want to ask you about FSU and LSU. We'll talk about Utah, Florida as well, but looking ahead to LSU and FSU, because you're close to the program, as objectively as you can, give us the ceiling for FSU and then the biggest obstacle standing in the way of them reaching that ceiling.
Maggie, I'm thrilled that you just cast aside the Gators. I love that. Let's start with what matters. Let's do that. I do think it is the game of the weekend. Florida, Utah tonight's awesome, but I do think it's the game of the weekend. I think most, even an unbiased analyst would agree. Their ceiling, I think, is the playoffs. I think that's as high as they can go this year. I think there are 4 teams roster-wise that are set apart as far as just NFL first round, second round, third round talent. When you look at them, it's Georgia, who's won back-to-back. It's Alabama, who's 90% of their roster is a 4 or 5 star. It's Michigan, who's won back-to-back Big Ten titles, and it's Ohio State. Those 4 programs to me are really the schools that if you were going to make a national championship pick and wanted to go chalky, it would have to come from one of those. So I don't think Florida State's in that category yet, but I do think they have come to a place, which is great because it's been a while since we've been there, where they should be able to win an ACC title. They should be able to make it to the playoff. They should be able to beat a team like LSU, which they did last year. So I think they're there. And the obstacle to me, I think is playing on the road at Clemson. That's their toughest ACC opponent. I think it's LSU. Those are the 2 biggest obstacles. If they get to the playoff, anything can happen. But I think the offensive and defensive lines, that's always what separates the national championship contenders. I mean, TCU is a great example. TCU is a team that could get to the playoff. They probably shouldn't have beat Michigan. I mean, Michigan had 2 pick sixes, but then you really saw them get exposed because of the talent gap between Georgia and TCU. And it was an incredible season for them, but that's what I'm talking about. There's still a disparity in a really, really good team that can get there and then the team that can actually win it.
All right, Danny, pretend you're an NFL team. You can start with one defender from Saturday night. I'll give you Florida State defensive end Jared Verse or LSU edge Harold Perkins. I know who won't be draft eligible. But who do you think is going to become the defensive star coming out of this matchup?
Oh,
and I mean,
both really good. So Jared Verse, there's some speculation. I'll give you a little behind the scenes because he did come back to Florida State, and there's been a lot of speculation about his draft grade when he was coming out. Like if you're a first rounder, as much as I love seeing him come back, or a top 5 or top 15 projected pick, I'd say like, what are you doing? I know NIL is nice, but you need to go to the NFL. There's some speculation that he might not have been a top 15 pick, that he might have been a later first round or second round pick, and that's why he came back. Harold Perkins, to me, he seems like he might be a top 10 pick. Like when he's ready to come out, he is special. They moved him to a traditional linebacker position where he was coming off the edge last year, which is one of the things, the unknowns of this game, which I'm sure concerns Mike Norvell. Like you better have a game plan, but how do you game plan for him if you don't really know where he's going to be lined up half the time? He is a freakishly talented player that I think will be chasing after Jordan Travis all night long. And that's probably the most significant, concern of mine and Jordan Travis's, on Sunday night when they square off.
Danny Cannell joining us on behalf of betonline.ag. We'll get to some of the betting aspects of this in a moment. Do you think Jaden Daniels from LSU, Danny, is he the best quarterback in the SEC?
It's a great question. I actually had an argument. I was at CBS Sports HQ and was talking with some people. I think it was Brady Quinn. We were arguing about this. What he's done so far, I don't think you can deny that. Will Rogers at Mississippi State has thrown for a gazillion touchdowns, but he was playing for Mike Leach, who, God rest his soul, has passed away. And Zach Arnett, their new coach, brought in a different offensive coordinator that's going to run a different system. There's a part of me too, Maggie, and this is my favorite part about, college football, is we see these stars emerge. And in the NFL, we see rookies kind of, catch fire, but most of the time, like Bryce Young, we know he's going to be good. Anthony, we kind of know what they are. Carson Beck, a quarterback at Georgia, we really haven't seen him that much, and he's trying to go for a three-peat. He's going to have talent all over the place. He might be the best in the SEC when it's all said and done, but we don't know. Alabama has 3 guys that maybe one of them comes to the forefront, and they're the best quarterback in the SEC. Connor Wegman, I like a lot at Texas A&M. Bobby Petrino took over that offense. He's always had great success with quarterbacks. He might be the best. But I think as it stands now with what they've laid down so far, I think it's got to be Jaden Daniels. You have to give him the nod.
Danny, there's 2 top 5 teams with kind of instability at quarterback. If you're an Ohio State fan or an Alabama fan, are you worried that you don't necessarily have your number one guy? Or can teams go on and win a title even if they're not sure by week 2 who their starter is?
These 2 programs absolutely can go on and win a title. I didn't pick either one of them to make the playoffs because of that concern. But, if I'm going to make a bet, I want to have a little more certainty than just maybe, one of these guys hit. And I think there's more of a specific concern with Alabama than Ohio State. I mean, first of all, Ohio State has Marvin Harrison Jr. They got Travion Henderson. They have weapons all over the place for that quarterback to work with, whether it's Kyle McCord, who's going to get the start, or Devin Brown. You also feel like Devin Brown was recruited within the program. He's pushing Kyle McCord. Everything you've heard has been these 2 quarterbacks are playing great, and they're pushing each other towards greatness, which is a good thing, right? And maybe Kyle McCord goes out there and he isn't great under the big, bright lights, but it feels like you have a really good option to go back to. At Alabama, they don't have that receiver that they had in Devontae Smith and some of the other guys, Henry Ruggs. Like, they had first rounders all over the field. They've been lacking that recently. And the reason I'm concerned about them is they went through spring and it was a 2 quarterback battle with Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson. And what'd they do? They started hitting the phone and they were like, we need another quarterback in here for this battle. And there's a lot of, chat rooms are awesome. I love them. Message boards, wherever you go to find your information. There's a lot of speculation that they went after Tyler Van Dyke at Miami, Drake May at North Carolina. Like, they were trying to upgrade. And then those guys turned him down. And then Ty Buckner comes from Notre Dame, who was okay, but he's got familiarity with Tommy Rees. Like, there is more concern about the actual quarterback, whoever it is at Alabama, and is he good enough? But Bama's won with, average quarterback play before. It's been a while, but, if anybody could do it, it'd be Nick Saban.
Danny Cannell joining us on behalf of Bet Online. You got to check out Bet Online for updated college football playoff, win totals, conference, Heisman, college football, week 1 lines. They've got it all. Tonight's game, Florida, Utah. This was a great game a year ago. Spread on this game, Utah favored by 5. Even though Cam Rising is not going to play in this game because of that ACL injury that he suffered during the Rose Bowl. Over-under is 44.5 points, so expecting it's a healthy amount of points there, Danny. Are we going to get a good matchup here again, and how do you expect this one to play out?
What do you like to watch, Maggie? Do you like offensive fireworks or do you like a defensive slugfest? Because I think this one has ugly offensive football all night long. I like the under the best in this game. If you talk about the line itself has been vacillating all over the place. It was at one point 10. Utah was a 10-point favorite. Then like 2 weeks ago, it was down to a field goal. And then it went up to 7. And now it's kind of settled in that 4.5, 5 range. And it's all because of the speculation around Cam Rising. And I think it's worthy. He meant that much to this game because as a 6th-year senior who Kyle Whittingham has relied on to make big play after big play, he's not there. It puts a tremendous amount of pressure on a backup in Bryson Barnes, who's going to be taking his first meaningful snaps. This is a massive stage for them to be on. So what do I think they do with that? I think they try to run some wildcat. Jaquindon Jackson's their running back, what used to be a quarterback at Texas. I think they run some wildcat. I think they try to run the football. Florida, Graham Mertz, the transfer from Wisconsin, he didn't have the best spring game. It was kind of ugly. He got sacked 9 times. I think they're going to try to run the football. I think Graham Mertz, you'll see him checking down, a lot of controlled passing game. Both of these front sevens, I think, are really good. So I think it's going to be an uglier game that's lower scoring. So my favorite play in that game is the under.
Danny, did you have a chance to watch the Florida documentary Swamp Kings on Netflix?
Oh, yeah.
We were disappointed in it. Did you find it inaccurate?
Oh, my gosh. So Tim Tebow, I love Tim Tebow, but do we need another piece on Tim Tebow saying what a great dude and athlete he is? But we didn't need another one. And then Urban Meyer, it felt like a PR piece that was made to rehab his image, which is really taking a pounding through his tenure at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So there was so much that it left you wanting more. Give me some more stories. Give me some more dirt. Give me some more. I just wanted more when I left it. It just felt way too polished. But I'll tell you what, if you want the dirt, go watch BS High.
Yes.
On HBO Max.
Wait, Danny, we're having the director on later in the show. Because
I'm staying on. I'm supposed to do more of these. I'm doing it. is insane.
Okay.
I am a peaceful person. I've never wanted to punch somebody in the face like I did Bishop Sycamore's football coach who was scamming these kids. And now after he's claiming that the documentary was rigged against him, and he's the biggest con man you'll ever see. If you want to watch a doc and be entertained and also get your blood boiling, watch that one.
Wow, that was the best tease for our guest who's coming up in about an hour. So you're welcome to hang out with us as we talk about our NFL preseason debate countdown. Yes, we're all had a very strong reaction to BS High and to Roy Johnson. How this guy's not in jail, we have no idea. Danny, thank you so much. Really appreciate this. Enjoy the weekend of college football before we get going with college and pro all at the same time.
You guys are awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate that. Danny. You can check out Bet Online for updated college football playoff win totals, conference, Heisman, and college football week 1 lines.
Yeah, I got to be honest. You could have a pretty good Florida State documentary, too, if you wanted. Peter Warwick and Lavernius Coles. Oh, boy. I mean,
can I take a little? I'd love to know what it was like when Deion was there and was the man on campus. Give you a little footage of that. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking what they got in the most trouble and were the best team. I mean, that's arguably, I like to hear, well, Danny's gone, the best Florida team versus the best Miami team versus the best Florida State team. I wonder who comes out on top.
I mean, right now, in terms of documentaries, the U is far and away better documentary than Swamp Kings was.
Yeah, but I think if they ever tried to do 1999 Florida State when Warwick and Coles were arrested and they found a way to get them back on the field, it would be beyond. Just beyond.
Well, I just hope it's not the same people who are doing Swamp Kings because we're only getting half the story. But does it lose a little bit because Bobby Bowden's no longer with us?
No, I don't think so. I think, honestly, they should have had... No, because they interviewed the heck out of Urban Meyer, and that added nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
I still... The one thing... There's so many things that were missing. Percy Harvin I want to see, because I've heard so many legendary stories about his personality. But Cam Newton being on the bench for 2 years.
I know.
How do you keep Cam Newton on your bench on a college team?
When you have Tim Tebow in front of him.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Probably the only person that could keep Cam Newton on the bench because Tebow was not only a great college quarterback, but he's like a cult of personality guy.
Yeah.
Like he has this following.
They would have killed BS High, I'll tell you that. That team would not have stood a chance.
Bishop Sycamore is the name of it. And again, we're going to be interviewing the director, one of the directors, Martin Desmond Rowe, coming up at the top of the next hour. BS High, you might remember, was Bishop Sycamore. They end up playing on ESPN and playing this high school football showcase against IMG Academy, where they got trounced.
Yeah.
Guys were getting hurt. And even on the broadcast, they're talking about how this is probably not a legit high school football team. And then we got the exposés out of it.
Unbelievable. You mentioned the other day they played 3 games in 5 days or something.
They played a game on a Thursday and then on a Saturday. I mean, just ridiculous.
By the way, one of the guys on IMG, they had this guy Carnell Tate, who's he plays this weekend, and I hate to say it, I'm always going to remember him from the BS High documentary. He was on the good team, and he's like, he had 4 guys climbing on him, just scored like 6 touchdowns in that game.
It's crazy.
It was not a fair matchup.
And one detail out of that is going to be worse than the next and the next and the next. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Coming up, though, the one team in the NFL that's going from worst to first in their division. We're going to tell you next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
All right. We'll get to that in a second because this portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare, want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. This, of course, is a sound that was imprinted on my young brain forever.
Wait, why is this one? This one isn't coming to me. You know it? We're doing video game themes. Carlos is trying to stump us.
I mean, Maggie, where you were with 80s, 90s sitcoms, you are on the other end with the 80s, 90s.
No, but this one, but if you play the sound where something happens and the sound changes and it becomes more.
Oh, like if you get a 1-up or something? Like you get an extra life?
If you get a big yellow ball and everybody turns into a see-through ghost.
Oh, what's Mario again? No.
This doesn't really sound like it. Wait, this is what I think it is, right? No,
actually,
that is what you think it is.
Yeah, because it doesn't really sound. Beep 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 beep. Boom boom boom.
What are you saying to me right now?
Beep 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 beep. Boo 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 boo.
It's not doing anything for me.
All right.
Is it Pac-Man? Oh yeah, big yellow ball. Yes, that's the one
sound.
I know. Yes, a big yellow ball eating, and the ghost becomes see-through.
Yeah, and then the ghost starts blinking. You're like, can I eat this guy, or is he going to turn back into a bad guy? Wait, did you find that song, Pac-Man Fever?
Of course I did.
You ready for a treat, Maggie?
Sure.
Yeah, you might.
What could go wrong?
Does anybody have a thermometer? Because I am coming down with a Pac-Man fever.
Oh no. Samter is fist bumping like he's in a pair of jean shorts.
I hate how much I like this, actually.
Nobody knew how to sell anything back then, you know?
I'm telling you, you're not playing Pac-Man after listening to this? This is selling.
Oh, God.
Pac-Man fever. So wait, by the way,
I
just
think
real
I
quick.
got it.
Oh, you're going to love this. This is a whole album of songs dedicated to video games. Pac-Man Fever was the title track. Then Froggy.
Were they playing that on the radio and stuff?
Yeah. Froggy's Lament, I think so. Ode to a Centipede, great game. Do the Donkey Kong. Hyperspace, which was about asteroids.
Yeah.
The Defender, which was about Defender, I guess. Mousetrap. I don't know Mousetrap. Do you guys know that?
Mousetrap is a board game, I remember.
I remember the board game. I don't remember a video game.
And then Going Berserk, about the game Berserk. I never heard of that one.
I don't know that one.
I don't know that one.
But I'll tell you, Ode to a Centipede is a great number. That was my wedding song, actually.
First dance?
I can't believe. Did MTV play that song? No.
I don't know. Let's see. Did it chart? Let's see if it charted.
The one thing I will say is, go ahead.
It Do the Donkey Kong peaked at 103.
It's not bad.
What about Pac-Man Fever?
Number 9.
Oh my goodness!
Top 10
It was
hit.
a hit.
It
This
is
is a
kind of
long
an
time
earworm,
ago.
though. Like, it gets stuck in your head. It's kind of like the 76ers song when they
It's
win.
very much so,
Yeah.
right.
Something was going on in the early 80s about just having to make a song about everything, clearly.
Yeah, you're right. And because obviously the music was not so high level, I think they could have written that in about 25 minutes.
This is what AI is going to do now in the future. They're just going to create these crap songs again.
I got Call of Duty fever.
Yeah. It doesn't have the same ring to it.
That's like Stephon Diggs' favorite song.
Yeah. Kyler Murray. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, Carlos, let's get to our NFL preseason debate countdown.
NFL preseason debates countdown. 7 days.
That's it. 1 week, everybody. And then the NFL season is back with us. So today's debate is which team is going to go from worst to first in their respective division. Perloff, the answer is easy. The answer is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons, who are the one team in the NFC South that is returning its quarterback. Desmond Ridder got a few games under his belt last year. It's a team that actually has some stability. It's a team that's going to do everything you want, which is run the ball and be stout in the trenches. That's going to lead to wins in the NFC South. I hate betting on the Falcons. It's actually the 11th commandment of this show. Thou shalt never bet on the Falcons. They burn me every time. But in this sense, they are the team that's going worst to first.
Okay, of the worst to first team, they are at plus 200. So you're not going to make a lot of money off of that to win the NFC South. Now, I like the Falcons. I would consider that bet. I like your logic. Although they say no returning quarterbacks. Derek Carr is at least a veteran.
That's true.
I can't
Different
believe
team.
you're not going with the Hall of Famer. The New York Jets were worse last year. Don't you think they have a legitimate chance to go first? And to do that, we'll need the Buffalo Bills to take a small step back, and I'm already seeing cracks. I see Von Miller on the PUP list. Starting to see cracks. I see your confidence is waning. I see you
My confidence is waning. No
I see
way.
you accosting people in the coffee room and complaining about the linebacking core. This happened.
I did raise my voice about the linebacking core, but I am legitimately worried about
to
it.
somebody who was desperately trying there. I actually, when you were like, Matt Milano always gets hurt, and they're like, save me. They're whispering, save me to me.
Don't ask me what kind of season do you think the Bills are going to have if you don't want a real answer.
If you don't want 15 minutes of your life taken away.
Listen, you're standing by the microwave. I saw there was plenty of time left on
You have to erase the 10 days since Maggie's Bills meltdown?
No, I was good. I don't know who decided to write on the whiteboard here, wide right.
Ouch.
On my days since Maggie's had a Bills meltdown. I feel like this is you guys planting this, trying to bait me into it.
Somebody pretended not to speak English when you were talking about the slot receiver position the other day in the break room.
Well, I was just really surprised, actually, they didn't bring back Cole Beasley, and now he's been cut, and I think they could bring him back.
They're like, yeah.
When's the last time a rookie tight end ever did anything?
No hablo inglés.
I've been getting that a lot lately.
Yeah. No, I understand. But I do think if you're going to do worst to first, I think all three of these teams being the New York Jets, the Buffalo Bills, the Miami Dolphins could be competing for first place in that division, and they're all going to be right around 10, 11 wins. Jets could sneak in there. I think Buffalo and the Jets are definitely playoff teams. Miami feels a little brittle to me. They're third. But if you're going to be a playoff team, I don't see Buffalo running away with it and being 13-4. Were they 13-4 last year?
13-3, because they never played the Bengals game.
Right. So I don't think they run away with it. I think they're in the mix again. So I feel like the Jets could sneak in there. They're at plus 270. I kind of like that bet. They don't feel like a worst to first team because they added Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I know the NFC South always goes worst to first because it's like worst to worst.
Well, if you actually wanted the team that recycles division winners year after year. It's actually the NFC East.
Yeah.
And that would mean your Philadelphia Eagles would be unseated here. But could it be the Washington Commanders? The Terry McLaurin turf toe, that's an issue. I think that Sam Howell as the quarterback, is he actually going to be good? There's a lot of questions here.
I thought we all agreed we were into Sam Howell.
No,
we were all of a sudden doubting Sam Howell? How can you doubt Sam
the
Howell?
Commanders. I just don't think that the Eagles are not going to finish first. The Eagles are going to just be dominant. The one team that I think that everyone...
Or the Cowboys.
Yeah, but I think the Commanders could, maybe not will, but could definitely finish above them. The other team that like nobody's talking about and everyone thinks that they're terrible, and I might get reamed for this one, but the Bears. That division is wide open. I'm not believing in what you call the fraud Vikings. The Lions I love, but I'll never believe in the Lions until they actually do it. The Packers, we all know, Jordan Love. And Justin Fields might be the best quarterback in that division. And if that's the case, he's got weapons, he's got receivers. Maybe the Bears.
Justin Fields is the best quarterback in that division.
Kirk Cousins, Jordan Love, or
Jared Goff.
I mean,
well, talent-wise, he probably has the biggest upside of any of those
he's the
guys.
boat, not the goat.
Jared Goff threw 29 touchdowns and 7 picks last year, which is MVP level stuff. And Kirk Cousins was even better.
1,000 yards.
Yeah, he ran for 1 million yards, but he can't keep that up. So I mean, he'd have
Lamar
to take
Jackson won an MVP doing it.
He'd have to take a huge leap up to pass Cousins and Goff and productivity. Kirk Cousins will probably throw. We don't even talk about him. He'll probably throw 30 touchdowns and 10 picks.
So
no one will care.
Here's the one thing I think that's working against the Bears is like the Falcons were 7-10 last year. The Jets were 7-10 last year. The Bears were 3-14. Like, that's not a lot of wins. They were the worst team record-wise in the NFL. I think every year adding, like, you had 3 or 4 wins. That's like a nice step forward coming off a 3-win season.
But it is the NFL. It feels like it does happen. Like, you see 3 and 4 win teams every year jump.
Well, you need 3 and 4 win.
We saw the 1-win Colts win 11 games the next year with Andrew Luck.
Yeah, but that's because they had like generational talent influx at quarterback.
Well,
Justin Fields is good. I don't know if he's going to be generational.
I do think you hit on something. You might be 9-8 and win that division. I think that is a valid point, Mike. And I think the same is very true of your Atlanta Falcons. You might win that division.
They're not my Atlanta Falcons.
The most exciting team in the NFL to watch.
No.
Oh, I want the Atlanta Falcons.
You can have them.
You aren't excited? Atlanta's got an exciting young talent.
I love our guy, Bijan Robinson.
Oh, he's the best.
He's been on the show several times, and we're rooting for him unabashedly as a show. But I have my commandment. I will not bet on the Falcons. The Falcons have screwed me so often on bets, I can't do it.
Okay.
They're not my team. Plus, I'm not like you. I don't have 50 teams that I root for. I only have one that I root for.
I'm not saying I'm rooting for the Falcons, but we love Bijan. Everyone loves Bijan. He's the most lovable rookie coming in a long time. I don't know. They have 2 6'6" monsters playing receiver. You know what my big problem is? Desmond Ridder. I just do not know what he's going to be.
Nobody does. But he might be enough to win that division because clearly they're going to run the ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what Arthur Smith is either. And by the way, I don't know what your guy Matt Eberflus in Chicago is. Mike, if I told you Matt Eberflus wasn't going to be there next year, would you be surprised at all?
If you put Arthur Smith and Matt Eberflus shoulder to shoulder, I have no idea.
I was going to say, if Matt Eberflus was sitting in the seat next to us, would Sam have any idea who he was? That's all.
If he walked in and said, "Hi, it's me, Matt."
I like how I've adopted the Bears now because I'm like, they might be a team that goes worst to first. I have not adopted the Bears. I'm just kind of nudging.
You're just asking questions.
I'm just asking questions that I don't want answers to.
You can't handle the truth when it comes to Matt Eberflus.
Meanwhile, the Commanders, one of those, could they go worst to first teams? Looks like we know for sure they're not going back to their old nickname.
Right.
No Skins.
Which I think common sense dictated it as well. But it also, not only that, Joe Theismann leaked they're not going to stay Commanders.
Here we have a little, let's listen to Jason Wright, who's the president of the team, I believe. He's on 106.7 The Fan in D.C., was asked, could they go back to that old nickname?
Is going back to the old name something that is on the table?
It is not being considered.
At all.
Period.
But then apparently Joe Theismann said they are changing the name. So now we got to go through this again with another name change for Washington, D.C.?
Did they have a vote last time and was Hogs one of the finalists, or am I imagining that? Did I dream that?
I think Red Hogs was one and Red Tails was another one.
Red Hawks. They were looking at Red Hawks, which means
Yeah, I don't think Red Hogs was one of them. I think
Red Hogs? What is that?
No, I think it was Red Hawks.
It was
and
Red
Tails.
Hawks or Red Tails, and there was something about an airplane unit in the war.
Yeah,
I think that was the Red Tails.
Yeah.
Which was cool, but still, I don't think they're nailing it yet. Commanders is not working for anybody.
No. Here, nobody's nailing it lately. With a lot of these name changes, outside of the Seattle Kraken, which is very cool.
Awesome.
Love it.
Greatest.
Like 100% approval
Top 5
rating.
names in all of sports, maybe.
I mean, it's pretty cool. Who else has been good? Maybe Vegas Golden Knights?
Pretty good.
Not bad. So I guess hockey's really
Well,
doing
the owner didn't even want it to be Golden Knights. He wanted it to be Black Knights, but it was going to rip off of West Point.
Yeah, Golden Knights feels a little bit too much. It's too many syllables.
Should have just went Knights.
Yeah.
Just Knights, Vegas Knights. And then a play on, like, nightlife in Vegas.
Exactly.
But, like, Guardians, I don't think anyone really loved. Obviously, Commanders was a big flop. I'm not a big Pelicans fan.
Oh, I like
Pels.
I'm okay with Pelicans.
Pelicans are. You know what's the funny thing about Guardians? I feel like the Guardians, nobody even really talked about it. That whole transition, because you got so much attention on the Washington team name. The Cleveland baseball team, it kind of, to me, slightly quietly changed to Guardians.
Yeah.
And it hasn't taken.
Well, and they haven't been very good. So
Yeah.
that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
What could Washington be? Something, they're going to be the Hogs?
No, go back to the football team. That was the best name they've ever had.
Washington football team?
Yeah, I love that.
Unironically, it worked out.
The day it was announced, everyone panned it. But then it sort of caught on.
It just grew on you. And, like, you know, there was that whole WFT, WTF thing.
Yeah.
But WTF was just so much easier.
WFT, you mean?
Yeah,
WTF is what the bleep.
See, I'm just messing my own head up. But yeah, but WFT was just easy. It's an easy abbreviation.
You think Magic Johnson's buying into a team called Washington Football Team? It's got to have a little more pizzazz.
No, it sounds like a cool soccer team. It's awesome. I think that's why people like it, right?
Because soccer's growing in this country.
What if famous football clubs, like something FC, right? That's
Yeah. Everything is something FC, NYFC.
Yeah, it's super hip. I like it. Go back to Washington football team.
How about Inter Washington? Like Inter Miami.
They already have DC United, dudes. They already have
AC
one.
Washington.
Yeah, DC United's the only actual team name that works in all of DC.
I know, the Wizards was not good. 855-2124-CBS. All right, coming up, we do have a WTF. This time, what's Aaron Rodgers up to today? We'll get to that in a moment after this CBS Sports Update. Here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, T.J. Hawkinson sticking around in Minnesota, reportedly agreeing to a 4-year extension worth over $42 million guaranteed, the most in NFL history at the tight end spot. After a soft opening last weekend, tonight begins week 1 of the college football season, and 14th-ranked Utah hosts Florida. The Utes look to avenge last year's 3-point loss in Gainesville. Head coach Kyle Whittingham said a tough way to open the season.
Big challenge for our program, for our team. They're outstanding as far as their personnel and SEC talent across the board, just what you'd expect from a team like Florida. And so we got to bring our A game without a doubt.
They won't have quarterback Cam Rising as he continues to recover from a torn ACL. The Chicago White Sox promoted Chris Getz to become their new general manager. The Reds claimed Harrison Bader and Hunter Renfroe off waivers, while the Guardians have claimed all 3 former Angels pitchers, Lucas Giolito, Matt Moore, and Reynaldo Lopez. Also today, there was one game this afternoon of the 4 on the schedule. It was the Yankees falling in Detroit 4-3-10. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Football season's almost here. From the college game to the NFL, no one has you covered like CBS Sports Radio. Find us 24/7 on your local Odyssey affiliate, Sirius XM Channel 158, streaming online, or the free Odyssey app.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Back to Maggie and Perloff. Carlos has been stumping me today with the theme is video games. Man.
Frogger? No.
No, not Frogger. I'm getting like princess vibes from Mario.
Yeah, all of them sound like Mario saving the princess.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Keep in mind, you had the technical limitations in the 80s. It's not like everybody had like the machines that they have now to make music.
What, a synthesizer?
This isn't Donkey, is it?
This is indeed Donkey Kong.
This is Donkey. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds
Oh,
good.
it's Donkey Kong.
Yeah. We're
they've
in the
all,
neighborhood.
I feel like every song has been Donkey Kong.
It's all just a play off the same thing. Welcome back. Did I say that? Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, across the country on CBS Sports Radio. Let's get to Aaron Rodgers.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
Well, this back and forth between Rodgers and Jihad Ward from the New York Giants, Perloff, is heating up a little bit. On Hard Knocks on Tuesday, Rodgers and Ward were seen shoving and pushing each other, and Rodgers thought he really got a good line off on Ward when he said, "I don't even know who you are." And Ward said, "I don't know who you are either," which Rodgers called BS. We got a little update on why Jihad Ward was getting so physical with Aaron Rodgers. He was upset, according to ESPN, about how he was portrayed on Hard Knocks, and basically said the dirty hit that Randall Cobb did to his teammate, McCain, the first name, who's still in concussion protocol right now because of that blindside block that Randall Cobb, like, out of nowhere.
In a preseason game, totally, completely unnecessary.
I know, like, with his family in the stands and everything, and, like, Randall Cobb's been this, like, feel-good story through Hard Knocks. The wife's pregnant, all that stuff.
The Cobb mob. His family calls the Cobb mob. And I loved him, but I hated this hit, and they play again later this season. I was thinking, man, if Randall Cobb goes over the middle and I'm a Giants defender, I'm taking a flag.
Yeah, Bobby McCain is his name,
Yeah.
who then is concussed and is still in the protocol. And so that's what Ward was like. I was sticking up for my teammate. And so you get a little backstory here.
And, I mean, honestly, there wasn't that much fireworks between Ward and Rodgers. More trash talk. I do think this is interesting because they play each other, and just the Cobb hit was so dirty. I don't know what impact it'll have, but I think the Giants are going to be really fired up for that game. I think not that that will help necessarily, but my Giants now, because we were arguing earlier in the show where I'm saying Daniel Jones is ready to take another step up. I don't know. I don't love this for the Jets. Like, this is unnecessary drama.
Yeah. By the way, like, I put up with your bandwagoning, and, like, I've come to accept it as just part of who you are. But I cannot have you do my Giants.
No.
That's just, you're an Eagles fan. That's too close.
I understand, but I mean, I'm an objective analyst here. And I mean, listen, you know I'm not alone. There's a lot of Daniel Jones stands out there right now. I don't know what exactly it is. He looks better because the guy throws a beautiful pass. We know he can run very well. And I think there's faith in your former coach, Brian Daboll. He seems like the real deal. So I'm not saying that they're going to be 13-4, but I do think that they have a great chance of going back to the playoffs. And I think Jones has a chance to step up. And the funny thing is, this Jets-Giants, like, this could be like a little rivalry in New York. I think they're going to go back and forth.
Yeah.
And that's making it, that's like circle your calendar, October 29th for this game now that there's some bad blood.
Yeah, I love the people who are parachuting in to like Daniel Jones, like he didn't have 3 years before last year that he played in the NFL.
Never watched any of that.
Never watched a snap.
I mean, I did see, obviously, until last year, he was the guy who tripped on the 10-yard line. That's all anyone knew about him.
Turf monster. Yeah, he was running like 22 miles per hour
I know.
at top speed, which is pretty crazy.
But I think you have to, like, you might be stuck in old Daniel Jones.
Well, let's just see. Because...
am I smelling a bet for the season on Daniel Jones?
I'm not doing a Daniel Jones bet. You want to know why? I don't want to watch Daniel Jones that closely. Not him personally. You guys know what I mean. It's just, if it repeats what he does, so then he's still a 15-touchdown, 5-interception quarterback. This is not... blowing the doors off of anyone. Add in the rushing touchdowns, you get him up to 22 touchdowns.
There's no way he's going to have 15 touchdowns. He's going to throw more this year.
No, they had no receivers last year. I'll give you that. But,
no, I mean,
the more he throws, the more it's possible that he throws picks.
Yeah, he could have some turnovers, but Darren Waller feels like a huge addition. I don't think Jalen Hyatt's going to be ready to go, but he sure is a star of training camp, the Tennessee rookie. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of reasons to think Daniel Jones will. And it might be it might be the money, too.
Well, he was in the contract year last year. That goes against type.
No, I'm just saying, like, if they saw him as worth $40 million, maybe they're right. Maybe he is a high-end quarterback. They're not dumb, really. There's a reason they're paying him that money, I hope.
They're not dumb, but at the same time, he's coming off of a good year where they win a playoff game, and I think they were stuck. You don't have... Well, you don't have a draft pick that's going to be good enough. You're not going to start over with a rookie because now you got all these positive vibes. Jones isn't a top-level quarterback, but this is like the going rate now for quarterbacks. I mean, they got out of it with $80 million guaranteed. They probably feel like they're getting a bit of a bargain, which is wild.
All right, we'll see. I think I've just been reading too much positive spin, and you're right. This is a time of year where there's a lot of good quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right now, there's 13 Super Bowl contenders in the AFC, according to the media right now.
And the media being me and you, I think we believe in that.
I can't wait. Everybody does predictions right now. Who you leave out of the AFC playoff picture is probably the hardest challenge of this preseason.
It says everything about you as a person.
It is so hard. You're going to leave some team that you love out of the playoffs.
Coming up next, this is going to be amazing. New documentary called BS High about Bishop Sycamore. The director joins us next. It's a story you won't believe.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Was hanging out with Seth Rogen's mom in Europe.
And I
didn't even know it.
I didn't even know it.
Wait, what should we email Seth Rogen's mom? Can we do this all as a show? Can we have her?
Is that your Seth Rogen?
Sound like Beavis and Butthead. So we have to figure out what do we want to write to Seth Rogen.
Let's ask Seth to come on the show and talk to the Weeder.
He would be like their Pied Piper.
She's going to get him to do a cameo. That's what's going to end up happening.
What are we going to pay? What a deal. Way to know people in high places.
She'll get a 25% off discount.
I know what the cameo would say. Be, hey, I heard you were on a cruise with my mom. Cool.
And that costs $600.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, hanging out with you across the country on CBS Sports Radio. Want to watch the show? YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Perloff, you've been obsessed with the Patriots quarterback situation, and we get some news about it today.
So they signed Matt Corral, who was just cut by the Panthers, to back up Mac Jones. So let me get this right, Maggie. If Mac Jones gets hurt week 1 against the Eagles, Matt Corral, who's never played a down of NFL football, has no idea what's going on in New England's building. There's no connection that I can see to the offense coordinator or anything. I might be missing that. He's going to back up Mac Jones? So if I'm the Eagles, I'm like, all right, this goal is simple. Let's hurt Mac Jones and see Matt Corral, who can't possibly know the offense. What's going on here?
According to Ian Rappaport, they had an open spot with the Tyquan Thornton injury. He's headed to IR.
Yeah.
And so I guess this opened up a spot, and they had their sights set on Matt Corral.
So who's going to actually be the backup quarterback?
Great question.
So they're going to do this yo-yo where they'll bring up Bailey Zappi or Malik Cunningham from the practice squad. And that's going to be a lot of extra work for nothing, in my opinion.
It's definitely like Belichick doing this maneuver thing to try to maximize roster spots or something like that. A little bit more news for you. According to some new reporting that's come out, not only did the Colts ask for Jalen Waddle in exchange in a hypothetical Jonathan Taylor trade, but they also asked for Christian Wilkins.
Wait, but are you?
And their offensive guard, Robert Hunt.
So they want them all together for Jonathan Taylor? Or
yep.
Did they say no to Waddle, and they said, all right, well, how about Wilkins? Or you're saying they wanted all of them?
No, this is what it was. The Colts basically wanted to send Jonathan Taylor for either Jalen Waddle plus a second-round pick, Christian Wilkins plus a second-round pick, or Robert Hunt plus a second-round pick. So they were asking for
one of those guys.
Player and a pick.
A second-round pick?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not that outrageous. Christian Wilkins, Waddle seems like a lot.
Wilkins is one of the most important people on their defense.
Yeah, I think Wilkins.
He's their top defensive tackle.
I think they're having some money problems with Wilkins. So you could get rid of 2 headaches at once, but yeah, that didn't happen. Even a second-round pick seems way too rich.
That's what I thought, because you're going to trade for him, and then, of course, you're going to have to pay Jonathan Taylor on top of that. So, okay, that's very interesting. We get a little bit more reporting on all of that stuff, and we will get to our next guest in a minute. And you know what? It's good that we have a minute or two to kind of set this up, which is a documentary that's on HBO Max right now called BS High. Mm-hmm. Perloff and I have both seen it, and it's about a high school football team called Bishop Sycamore. We all learned about Bishop Sycamore, which is a team out of Columbus, Ohio, when they played a game on ESPN against the highly touted IMG Academy, and they absolutely got the doors blown off them. And it was to the point where, Perloff, it was like dangerous. Guys were tearing ACLs. Their helmets were flying off after they were getting hit by these, just more impressive and better football players. Do a little digging, and it turned out that Bishop Sycamore had no affiliation with any kind of school.
Nope, small detail, but an important detail.
Yeah, small but important detail. So we're so pleased now to be joined by one of the directors of BS High, and that's Martin Desmond Rowe. Martin, it's Maggie and Perloff. Thanks so much for the time. How are you?
Thank you for having me on. I'm doing great, thank you.
I can't imagine the response that you've got from this documentary. Everyone who I talk to who has also seen it, the first thing we go to is, boy, that coach. Roy Johnson, the coach of Bishop Sycamore. How would you describe him to people?
Well, I think I'll use his own words. He's con man-ish. He's a charming, hilarious, incredible storyteller, very smart, and completely self-obsessed. The kind of guy that just says whatever he needs to do, whatever he needs to say to get whatever he wants.
So you've done a lot of these documentaries, obviously. Did he change in front of the camera, or is he a different person before and after you were filming?
So Roy's, we began the process of the film by doing 3 full 10-hour days with just Roy, just interviewing. Because in a pre-interview, we met him. He was in a car talking to us on a FaceTime thing, and he was like, he had sunglasses half on, half off. He was performing for us and telling us some of the stories that made the film, where he was just very clearly self-incriminating himself with things he shouldn't have been telling us. And we're like, all right, well, this guy is clearly the story. And we did 3 days with him, and yes, he told us every story that's in the film. He told us multiple times in multiple different ways, in multiple different tones, depending on what he thought we wanted to hear. So with Roy, the question was, what does the truth look like? What actually, which of these versions is true? And we pushed him as hard as we could to get through that. And then obviously we went and fact checked everything. And that's where everything really kind of came to life.
Yeah, I mean, you could really leave out the ish on the con man part. I mean, the way that he sort of, I want to say, baited these young men and kind of sold them on a dream, which was, if you come play for me and play hard, I can get you into a Division I school and you can be playing Division I football. I mean, of all the things, the lies he told to the kids or the bad situations he put those young men in, what do you think was some of the worst?
Well, I mean, these were, intentionally the kind of kids he was talking to were kids from challenging homes, challenging backgrounds, and actually Bomani Jones, who's in the film, he says it most powerfully, I think, which is, coach, if you're called coach, that's like a term like doctor. It means something, especially to young men who are entrusting themselves to somebody. Oh, coach, because you're called coach, how to make me better, how to make me stronger, how to help me get the thing I want. But instead of that, he basically taught them cons themselves. Like every single year, 4 years of the school, every single year, they would go to a different housing facility, like a apartment complex or a hotel, and he would sign up with a net 90 pay schedule. So you don't have to pay till, the end, you don't have to pay for the first month you're there till the last month you're there. So every single time he would have them move in at the beginning of the season, and then by the end of the season, he'd never paid a bill and they would get evicted. And sometimes these evictions were in the kids' names. And so he was including them in cons. He was including them in crimes. He was teaching them from the position of coach that all that matters is getting whatever's right in front of you. And so in terms of like the specifics of what he did, there's so many in the film to choose from in terms of the specific ways in which he betrayed these kids' trust. But I would say that the overarching thing is he taught them not to trust. I think he taught them that everybody, even the people we put on a pedestal and we say, hey, believe in these people, even those people are just criminals and liars. And you could see that in all these kids' faces. Quincy, one of the boys in there, his mum says very clearly she's got 3 other boys. All of them are at college. And Quincy is at home, doesn't trust men, doesn't know what to do, doesn't want to move out of home because they all thought this was their big shot. They all thought they'd found the person that was going to help mold them into the man, the young man they wanted to be. And instead, they found a liar who took advantage of them.
Actually, I'm going to play a little devil's advocate here. How did you know to trust all the boys in that, in the sense that, like, my mind was like, well, when they got there, didn't they realize that this pretty quickly, that this had gone sideways? Did they really have these dreams that this was going to lead to a Division I scholarship? Because, the way you look at it, Monday morning quarterback, they should have known that this was not what it was being advertised as pretty quickly.
And I think by and large, they did. I think it operates on 2 levels. One of the pieces of criticism that we've seen a lot over Twitter has been very fun for us since the film came out. There's a lot of very passionate opinions. One of them is like, the parents should have known. It's the parents' fault. These kids, he reached out directly to the kids. Their Twitter feed is just direct DMs to the kids, direct Instagram messages to the kids, selling them, right? So by the time this stuff kind of reached the parents, the kids were hook, line, and sinker sold. Right, he had these videos of like this massive facility. He had these letters from these colleges. He had, even today, like in the film, he at the end, he's like, Pahokee, we just got a letter from Pahokee. We're going to get him into college. We're going to get him into college. Like he can't stop with those lies. So the parents are put in this position where their kids are sitting there going, this is my dream. This has been my dream since I was 8. And here's somebody who's offering me a version of it. And that dream, for the majority of these kids, was gone, right? Like it was over. There wasn't really a path forward for them to a D1 or to the NFL or anything like that, right? The majority of these kids, that moment are passing by, but tell that to a 17-year-old. Hey, get a new dream, 17-year-old. Your dream's over. You want to be that person? Do you think their mum wants to be that person? So the parents are balancing, on the one hand, something that does smell fishy with telling their kids their dream's over. And I don't judge them for that.
It reminded me a little bit of the great sports documentary Hoop Dreams, where there were these teenagers who had these unrealistic fantasies about their sports dreams. Like that, I came away with that vibe, and I remember being that age and having some fantasies too. I think it's a real susceptible age to that kind of dream.
Yeah. Shouldn't you dream when you're young? Shouldn't you dream? Shouldn't we support you as you dream, even if as you get older you have to change those dreams and readapt those dreams? Should you be blamed for ignoring a few red flags at a young, impressionable age because you're told, work really, really hard, come here, put everything into it, and you will get your dream. I've got this. And then you get there and every week you're like, maybe you don't got this. Maybe you don't got this. But what do you do? Quincy, actually, again, bring him up again. He says it really clearly. He saw the education part of it. He got there. He went to school primarily. It's one young man, Quincy, because he needed a small bump in his ACT, very small. And he got there and he went to the school that they said that they were going to be studying at. And they got there and the doors to the school were locked and they didn't go in, and then they never went back again. And he's like, it's in the film. He says, I wanted to call my mom and tell her that this wasn't real, but I didn't want to tell her that. I didn't know what to say. He's 17, 18 years old. He's confused, and then he gets to the point. He's from the year where Roy beat a homeless man that was breaking. There's a homeless man trying to break into Roy's car, and they discover it one morning, and Roy beats the homeless man brutally with a belt and kind of invites the other kids to join in. Some of whom do. Quincy stood at the back, and he's like, I don't want any part of that. I know what this is now. There were breaking points for most of these kids.
Oh, another
JD
one.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, Martin Desmond Rowe. Just want to reintroduce you, the director, one of them, of BS High, which is about Bishop Sycamore, which is a high school football team that turned out to be not affiliated with a high school at all. It was all just a con perpetrated by the coach, Roy Johnson. And as you can tell, there was some real trauma with some of these young men who went to go play for Bishop Sycamore. And you mentioned about the scene where they beat the homeless man who's breaking into his car. There's another scene, and Roy does have to answer for this, where he's beating up his girlfriend in front of one of the players who came to live with him. I mean, there's that. Roy Johnson Perloff was taking out PPP loans in the kids' names. The kids thought they were grants, that they wouldn't have to pay them back. I think, Martin, when you watch the film and you get so incensed, really, on behalf of these kids and at this coach, and how could he keep conning these young kids? But he never got in trouble. And in some ways, it's not satisfying at all because the bad guy never gets his comeuppance. Like, how did he skate on all of this?
Yes, I mean, it was frustrating for us too as we made it. And actually, we had quite a lot of people being like, why didn't it end with him in trouble? It's like, well, we are a documentary film crew.
Yeah, right.
We're
not the police.
Not the legal system of Ohio. Like, I'm sorry that it was annoying at the end. It was annoying for us too. And I think that there's two parts to that. One part is, he is in trouble legally. We didn't go into it too much. He's hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid bills. He actually, with his card at the end, he got arrested right after the film was done. He was doing fraudulent something to do with identity fraud to try and buy 2 TVs from a Best Buy under the name like Theodore Herschel or something like that. And he got away with that. But then as he's walking out, he tried to palm something and he got busted for that. And so he does keep getting himself in trouble. But in terms of the school, in terms of the big picture, the law says that as they registered as a religious school and they do not take any money from the government. So in terms of the school, there is nothing. One of the things that happened is at the beginning of the process, Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, began he did a big press conference and did a big announcement. We're going to get to the bottom of this. Something bad happened here. We're going to hold people accountable. And they did a 70, almost 80-page report on this. And they discovered legally, in terms of the school, there was nothing that they could do. And so at that point, the governor's office had agreed that we could interview him. But then when it came back and they realized they couldn't do anything, they ghosted us. They stopped replying our calls. So that, and then on the other side of it, like all of the fraud that we discovered that is legal crimes, we are hoping that something does happen about that. Again, that's not up to us. But we have provided, he admits, there is somebody talking about check fraud, like in the thing, like I believe her, I don't believe him. And, you ask who to believe. This is an investigative piece, right? This is still an active story. We gave Roy an opportunity to respond to every accusation that the film makes. And some of them he admits that he drove over a gaggle of geese and killed them in order to give a lesson to some of the kids. He admits that. He denies the PPP loans. He denies the check fraud. Some of it, I have my own opinions on exactly where the truth lies on some of those things, but the majority of the things that are in the film are basically categorically true. And there's a significant amount of fraud that somebody should take a look at, in our opinion.
Martin, can you talk about the process of trying to interview ESPN and IMG Academy? You said in the documentary that neither would respond to this, because some of the most powerful parts were listening to the ESPN announcers call this game, and I was thinking, how did this happen from their side? It's just stunning.
Well, yeah, like the ESPN announcers actually, in some ways, are the story. If the ESPN announcers if they'd been able to, they watched this game and they were scared for the kids playing it. Simply no way about it. Like on one level, they were like, this is so mismatched. And it's not a mismatched basketball game. It's a mismatched football game. Like the quarterback hurts it. It hurts his arm, gets smacked so hard. The backup quarterback gets run over like he's a 9-year-old repeatedly, right? Like they're watching the thing and they're afraid. And so they can't stop themselves from calling out what happened. Things happen like the first kid who tears his ACL, his name's not on the roster. His number's not even on the roster. So they just can't contain themselves. They're like, this is shameful, effectively, is what they're saying. It should not be allowed to happen. And those are the paid employees of ESPN, their job is to hype this thing up. Their job is to make this thing, and they can't do it. And it was ultimately that gap between what they were supposed to do and what they ended up doing that set the media world alight and finally shined a light on this con. And we actually, our primary ask for ESPN was for that access to them, and they denied it because they're employees. And how culpable is ESPN? In my opinion, like they did hire this guy Joe Mamone, who is the guy that you hire to vet schools. They did that, but on the other hand, this team turned up with no medical support staff, no trainers. is there no vetting process for the games that they put on TV? Like, is there nothing? So there's no way ESPN would not have looked bad. IMG is more complicated. The issue is whether they should have taken the game knowing what they knew about the thing, but we're not 100% sure what they knew. That's kind of what we wanted to get into with them. But I suppose there's ultimately no upside for them in investigating this with us.
Does Roy Johnson ever coach another football game?
He should not. I mean, if you watch this film and you decide that you want your child to be coached by Roy Johnson, I don't know what to tell you. Like, we worked very, very hard on this one. Like, there's so many docs, right, in this space. Fire Festival, Inventing Anna, Tinder Swindler, where the con man at the heart of it, or con woman at the heart of it, it's so much fun what they're doing that you kind of, the moral kind of hammer side of it, like, you know, you're like, I know the Fire Festival guy ended up going to jail, but in the sense of the movie, you're not that outraged, right? You know, you want to help that lady that didn't get her money, but those people didn't ruin 40, 50 kids a year for 4 years, and they would have just kept doing it indefinitely. What Roy did was to children. Whether those children are 17 or 19 doesn't matter to me. Like, I know it matters in terms of whether they should be playing football, but they were in that bubble where they and we expect them to be protected, and he did not. There's one story. Here we go. I'll give you one. The end of their first year, when they were called a different name, called Christians of Faith, they played St. Francis Academy, which is another IMG level school. It was the last game scheduled for the season. By the time they got to that season, they had lost every single other game up to that point. They'd also not paid any of the bills for the bus rentals. So the buses that were taken to the games refused to take them. So they got a few minivans and a few cars, and they shipped all the kids out there. And the kids got there, and they were 2.5 hours late. I think it might be a little off on that, but they were basically the whole game late. And they get there. St. Francis is still there. They're still prepared to play, but there's only 2/3 of the kids there because of the transport. They're super late. Only like 5 or 6 of the kids suit up. They just don't want to play. They're demoralized. They're sad. They're confused. And so Roy's like, if you won't play, screw you guys. And he got back in the vans and he left. And he left the kids on the side of the road in a different state from where he picked them up.
Jeez.
If you want that guy to coach your kids, you do you.
Yeah. Martin Desmond Rowe, one of the directors of BS High. There's no way you got to watch it, you know? And you said in this day and age, not just with this documentaries where you're kind of like maybe rooting for the, you know, the supposed villain. There's also been an epidemic in sports documentaries where you're just glossing over a lot of the bad stuff that happens. This documentary doesn't do that. And so it's definitely worth your time. Martin, thank you so much. Congratulations on the film, and hope to talk with you again down the road.
Oh, I'd love that. Thank you so much for your time. Be well.
Thank you so much. Congratulations again. Yes, it will make you, it will evoke an emotional reaction to watch this film.
What a great point. I often end up I root for the con man in the middle of the documentary, like subtly root.
Yeah.
Not this
like
one.
The Tony Soprano, you know, where it's like the flawed villain, the flawed hero, whatever.
Well, especially that Anna woman, she was comical. Like, that was funny. This was not funny.
This is not funny, no.
Yeah, it might have been 5 minutes in the beginning of the movie where you're like, oh, this guy's kind of clever, and then it quickly turns dark.
Man, okay, a lot more to get to, including big day here on the show. Big day, getting closer and closer to me picking my college football team for the season. So we'll get to that. Don't move. More Maggie and Perloff in just moments.
You're in a 4-minute break.
Okay. Yeah, me neither.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
This show is sponsored in part by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life we're faced with tough choices and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind.
Perloff, you know and I know we've all been through some unpredictable times over the last few years, and it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/MNP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/MNP. Man, I just got to give up. I do not know any of these video game songs that Carlos has been playing for us today.
This is the second most famous.
Is it Zelda?
Yes.
Oh, I'm back, baby.
Give yourself some credit.
I'm back, baby. That gold cartridge, it's like being royalty playing Zelda. Perloff, no, not a Zelda
No,
person?
I miss Zelda. I mean, I've heard of it.
And I feel bad for you. Good game. Okay, welcome back to the show. Very important stuff going on, guys. Remember last year, I was basically recruited and I was proud of it. I was basically recruited to root for Cal last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was light recruitment other places, but Cal really came after you.
They came after me hard. They started promising me, big dorm, big dreams, big everything. The mascot was involved, our friend Amy Trask.
You probably actually could start for the Cal football team.
Oh, no. Maybe last year I could have. So I decided to pick Cal because I went to a college that didn't have football. So this year, because Colors Day is Friday with a new theme called Fan Out Loud, which is encouraging students and alumni and anyone with ties to a university to show off their fandom through their college colors. Got to go to collegecolorsday.com or use the hashtag collegecolors. You can enter for tickets to win a trip for two to this year's college football national championship in Houston, Texas, Perloff. So I now have to pick a new college football team.
Wait, why do you have to pick a new college team?
Well, as I said, Cal was going to be a one-year tryout.
Oh, but I see their hat is still in front of you. You have 4 hats.
Well, maybe I put them back in the mix. It's possible I could repeat, but it was a one-year thing.
Okay.
So if you're watching us on the live stream, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, I've got 4 hats in front of me. I've got LSU, I've got Arkansas, I've got Cal from last year, and I have South Carolina. Now, I was going to make my decision today, but unfortunately, because of the awful storms that are happening down in the Florida Gulf Coast, and we're keeping everyone there in our thoughts for sure, and hope everyone's okay. The USPS, I guess, got a little, the FedEx, whatever, got a little behind. And so there's a mystery team whose colors and hat and stuff couldn't get here.
So today's not actual signing day then? You have a couple more days to decide?
I have a little bit to decide, but right now between LSU, Arkansas, Cal, and South Carolina, where are you leaning for me?
Well, I have a question. What is your priority? Is it winning? I'm looking at Cal has one of the hardest schedules in the country and has a win total of 5 games.
Well, they won 4 games last year, and I was clearly not their good luck charm.
You have some really solid SEC choices here. I think obviously LSU seems like the best team. Arkansas is on
the come up.
On the come up, and South Carolina looks like they're going to be better this year too.
Or do we wait for mystery school?
Or do we wait for of these teams? It depends. Are you looking for attractive gear? Do you want the best football team? Do you want the best fan base? Do you want the best food?
Ooh, I want all of it. I want to feel part of the community. That's what I want. I want to live the college football fan experience that I never got because I was at the George Washington University.
Well, I think the best in-game experience has to be LSU. Baton Rouge is up there. I think the best colors, also LSU, gold and purple. But that South Carolina hat is so sick.
You've already asked me if you can have it when I'm done.
The other thing is, you got some good quarterbacks here. Do you want to take a little bit of a flyer on underdog? I think South Carolina has the most upside. If LSU is good, people are going to call you a bandwagon jumper. Arkansas, I guess they have a high upside, but I feel like South Carolina could be the real mystery team. Cal has no chance.
All right, the chat is weighed in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Rude Dog says Maggie's college football team should be the Oregon Ducks because I already have the costume.
That makes sense.
Maybe Oregon's the mystery team. You never know. Aaron Wilson says, Maggie, got to choose the Oregon State Beavers. Now, I could do Oregon State. They feel like they've really gotten the short end of the stick this year. And if I could boost the morale of the Oregon State fans in any way, I feel like that'd be like a civic duty.
Yeah. Our boy Ross Tucker is calling that Oregon State game this weekend. I'm psyched for him. They're a pretty exciting team. DJU, quarterback. You can't. Can you really choose? Aren't they arch rivals, Oregon and Oregon State? I feel like you're going to upset one of these fan bases.
Clearly, I'm going to. Our friend Michael in California says, go Army, Maggie, black and gold colors.
Yeah, I want to go to a game so badly. I would like you to choose them just so we could go to a game this fall. I mean, we could go anyway.
Yeah, we could just go up there. We live pretty close to West Point. All right, well, keep it coming, guys. So because the mystery team did not get their colors here in time, I don't feel right about choosing it today.
Okay,
but I will choose it.
That's fair.
Is it okay to choose after week 1? It's all right? It's a long season. I'm not in it just for the week 1.
I mean, this is dicey. Because if LSU beats Florida State, then you choose LSU, you know what people are going to say.
They're going to say I'm bandwagoning, but that's really your department.
What if South Carolina beats North Carolina, stops Drake May, who, by the way, had his birthday yesterday. I wanted to celebrate. My guy, Drake May.
Yeah, what are you going to send him some NIL opportunities?
Well, there's a big bet. We have a show bet where I have Drake May has to go number 2 or I'm in big trouble. Yeah, I think that's pretty weak to go after this weekend. But you know what? There's really even better games next week. When is Oregon's first big game? Let's look at their schedule.
Their first big game.
By the way, real quick,
Yes.
you talk about the Drake May bet. Considering what we were talking about yesterday, how the Cardinals might get the first and second pick,
Yeah.
you might just get screwed just by the law of averages. I mean, they're not drafting 2 quarterbacks.
I thought that, but Maggie made me feel better today.
Yeah. Did you reset the bet, by the way, of what it is? Perloff has bet me that Caleb Williams and Drake May are going to go 1-2 in the draft, and whoever.
No, if it doesn't happen, I have to go to one of the cities that drafts either Drake May or Caleb Williams.
You have to drive there. This is the Perloff road trip.
Yeah.
So,
by the way, Oregon plays nobody until Washington on October 14th. They have a cake schedule. Portland State on Saturday.
I'm looking forward to that one.
You are?
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, Samter. What did you say? Oh, what did I uncover? Sorry, I got a memory like a goldfish. I don't know what's going on.
You know what? I'm used to people saying that to me all the time.
Give your theory on why the Cardinals might not be able to pick Caleb Williams.
Okay, so I did a little more reading into the headline that came out yesterday about the Arizona Cardinals that their former coach, Steve Wilkes, testified under oath in an arbitration case that's open and ongoing that he was directed by team owner Michael Bidwell and the former general manager Steve Keim to use a burner phone to contact the general manager while he was suspended from the NFL for his second DUI. That's against the rules. Once you're suspended, you're supposed to be away from the facility. You're not supposed to have any kind of contact with anyone. And the team itself and the owner is in on this, supplying a coach with a burner phone. Okay, so this is part of an ongoing, arbitration, a lawsuit that's been brought by the former president of the team, Terry McDonough, who is Will McDonough's son and Sean McDonough's brother. If you know, Sean McDonough does play-by-play for ESPN for college football and for hockey, I believe.
Okay, you're getting off.
I'm getting tangent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, but to me, by the way, so you think what could be the repercussion of this?
So if this arbitration case, if more salacious details come out about the Arizona Cardinals, Roger Goodell and this arbitrator may have no choice but to punish the Arizona Cardinals. If they punish the Cardinals by taking away their first-round draft pick next year, which they've done to tons of teams lots of times, including last year's Miami Dolphins for tampering with Tom Brady. They did it, obviously, to the Patriots for Spygate. They've done it tons of times where they've taken away first-round draft picks. Then all this tanking is for nothing.
Yeah, but that being said, there's got to be a penalty between first-round pick and $400,000 fine. Like, I don't know. Like, first of all, calling a GM on a burner phone, the GM doesn't really do that much during the season anyway. It feels like that's a little rich of a penalty.
Okay, you would think that, but according to this article I read, they were actually talking about an extension that they ended up signing with David Johnson. This is going to sound a little old, but it's like $32 million extension, and apparently they got it done like 2 weeks after Steve Keim came back off his suspension, so they were talking about league business while he was suspended.
But so what? That doesn't feel like a first round. And you can't, honestly, if they had the number 1 overall pick and that was suspended, I think that would be problematic for the NFL. That would be probably the greatest penalty in the history of the league by far. I mean, maybe because there's no way. I mean, the fan base would sue.
Yeah, usually when a team loses a first-round pick, it's like the Patriots number 31 or something.
Yeah, and the NFL knows what they're doing.
Guys, you can't discriminate. Also, do you think that the NFL wants a commodity like Caleb Williams could be generational talent going to Arizona?
I don't think they hate Arizona. They've given them they give them more Super Bowls than anyway.
I know, but is that more about Phoenix?
What's the difference? No, it's Bidwell. I think, they
warm
weather,
like that party city, fun
they're rooting hard for the Rams to be awful this year.
Yeah, they want them in
They're
LA.
rooting hard for the Rams to be bad.
By the way, Cooper Kupp setback in whatever injury he's dealing with. I can't even keep track now. Hamstring injury.
I disagree. I don't think they could not do this. Maybe I'm totally naive, but that'd be a huge problem on their head because that'd be probably the worst team penalty in the history of the NFL. The number 1 overall pick is how valuable?
Oh, billions potentially.
It's worth 6 first-round picks or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they know that. I don't think they would ever do that. 5 weeks of I mean, we got to look. I'm sure there's been other burner phone penalties. Has it ever been a draft pick?
I don't know. I don't know if there's been other burner phone penalties.
I feel like we've heard burner phones. Maybe it was the NBA. But
that was Colangelo with the burner account.
Colangelo, right?
That was a burner Twitter account.
I feel like there have been other burner
he got fired
phones.
for it.
We'll check.
In the chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, Craig says, Maggie, go with Penn State just to tick off Perloff. Perloff is decked out head to toe today in Penn State University.
That's great. I actually remember when I first met Perloff the first day, he was like, by the way, huge Nittany Lion fan.
No, he was not.
Wow, that's really interesting.
He was probably like huge Milwaukee Bucks fan. That went by the wayside.
I love the Bucks.
Michael Fry says, Maggie, Fargo, North Dakota. Did make a nice donation to the Boys and Girls Club there.
You're so negative on Carson Wentz. I would not let you do that.
All right, keep them coming, guys. Again, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Let us know and let me know which college football team I should be rooting for this year. All right, coming up, the latest from the Cowboys. What did Mike McCarthy have to say about the trade for Trey Lance? And did he know about the trade for Trey Lance before it was made? We'll give you those answers and so much more after this CBS Sports Update. Here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, T.J. Hawkinson enters this season with any potential distractions of a contract behind him, reportedly signing a 4-year extension worth $68 million. The $42 million guarantee is the largest amount ever for a tight end. Former Cowboys VP of Personnel Gil Brandt has died at the age of 91. He worked for the Cowboys from their inception in 1960 through the 1989 draft, building a team that went to 5 Super Bowls. Week 1 of the college football season kicks off tonight. Florida on the road at number 14, Utah. The Gators beat the Utes last year in Gainesville. Billy Napier's team a little different this time around with only 8 starters back, and so they'll have their work cut out for them.
This is a veteran defense, veteran quarterback. And word out of Utah, it's the most talented team they've ever had there. So we understand the implications of playing there.
Former Wisconsin quarterback Graham Mertz won the Gators job. Baseball today, the Yankees losing 10 in Detroit, failing to pull off the sweep. 4-3 was the final. The Guardians claim pitchers Lucas Giolito, Reynaldo Lopez, and Matt Moore off waivers from the Angels. Harrison Bader heads to the Reds along with Hunter Renfroe. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, it's Amy Lawrence. Be sure to listen to CBS Sports Radio at home. Just ask Alexa to play CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Guess this song in a second. Today's memorable moment is sponsored by Prevagen. Prevagen is the most recommended memory support brand by pharmacists. All right, today's moment number 14. Utah opens its season tonight against Florida in a rematch of last year's opening game. In that game, the Gators put a damper on Cam Rising and the Utah's national title hopes with a 29-26 win thanks to 106 rushing yards and 3 TDs by my man Anthony Richardson, who scored the winning TD with just over a minute to play. Then, of course, some weird play, Cam Rising threw a pick with 22 seconds left because his receiver was tackled and they didn't call it. Probably cost my guy a Heisman invite. Whatever, no big deal. I'm over it. Cam Rising will not play tonight, but that's a Prevagen moment. I do not remember this video game. You got it, Maggie?
Yeah, this is also Mario.
Maggie got it. Now, do you know which Mario it is for bonus points?
Yeah, this is Mario 4.
Close.
3.
There you go, Mario 3.
Yeah, is this where they pulled the turnips out of the ground and threw them at each other?
Yeah, I guess. Let's go with that.
Okay.
There you go.
You don't remember that?
How many Marios did you do?
2.
He did 2 Marios. This Mario got famous from the Fred Savage movie, The Wizard, if you remember that one.
Yeah.
Great movie.
I do remember that movie. Okay, Maggie and Perloff, glad to have you. Do have a phenomenal college football tonight, so looking forward to Utah and Florida. Unfortunately, Cam Rising won't be playing in this game, Perloff, because we know he tore his ACL last January, but should be a good game and entertaining. Small spread, so Utah favored by 5. Got to get to the Cowboys because I was a little surprised when Jerry Jones was doing some media yesterday, and he was asked if Jerry told either Mike McCarthy or Dak Prescott that the team was going to be trading for former 49ers quarterback Trey Lance.
Did you guys give Dak a heads up that this was coming? Did anybody in your organization give Dak a heads up that this was coming down?
No. We didn't tell anybody until we did it. Period. There was nobody that knew it. We told Mike after we'd done it. But my point is, we just wanted to get it done.
I find that interesting. Listen, Jerry can go rogue and go out on his own. It's his team, Perloff. But Mike McCarthy is known as a quarterback guy. Wouldn't you want to say, like, hey, would you have a plan to develop Trey Lance if indeed we made a trade for him? Like, why not run that by the head coach when that's his bread and butter?
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like an oversight. It seems really confusing, too.
In what way?
So you're saying Mike McCarthy never had any wind this was coming down? It just happened without him knowing?
That's what Jerry said. That's not what I'm saying. That's what Jerry's saying.
I know. I'm not sure he remembered that right.
You're challenging Jerry's memory?
Right. Listen, play it again and listen when he talks about McCarthy's timing on this.
Did you guys give Dak a heads up that this was coming? Did anybody in the organization give Dak a heads up that this was coming down?
No. We didn't tell anybody until we did it. Period. There was nobody that knew it. We told Mike after we'd done it. But my point is, we just wanted to get it done.
Okay. Because Mike said, yesterday he responded and says, I was involved in the evaluation, but the actual business component of it, I'm not involved. Those decisions come down to Jerry and Steven. Like, are you sure he really? I can't believe Jerry didn't mention anything to Mike McCarthy.
He said period,
I know.
not Dak. He said he told Mike after. I mean, why flex? Like, why use that as a flex? Why not say, like, yeah, we consult, of course we'd want our most brilliant football mind in the building, Mike McCarthy, to have get his 2 cents? You're kind of undercutting your head coach.
Nicely? I'm not sure everything that comes out of Jerry's mouth is exactly accurate.
This one I'm going to believe because I do think that Jerry would go rogue on this one. Yeah.
No, I think that, first of all, I don't even think Jerry makes this kind of decision anymore because when's the last time he did a crazy rogue quarterback move? They wouldn't let him draft Johnny. That was 10 years ago.
But here's the thing. Like, this just embarrasses McCarthy, so why would he say it?
I think he made a mistake.
He said period. Then we told Mike afterwards. Okay, here's McCarthy.
Jerry's not reliable. You can't listen to this guy.
He's all we have. Well, Mike McCarthy was talking about his impressions of Trey Lance.
Very hardworking. He's. We have a quarterback meeting room there. He's pretty much just kind of taking that over. The boards in there. The grease boards look like beautiful mind. So he's really dove into it.
There you go. So Trey Lance is taking to this very well. Let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. Today's shot of the day comes from Danny Cannell, who joined us earlier on the show. Turns out the former FSU quarterback and Deion Sanders, the former FSU icon, having beef right now.
I had a little beef with Deion over the last 24 hours because he was almost like denying that he started his career at Florida State. It was kind of odd, but I think Deion has a method to his madness with everything that he does. I think this year could be a little rough. You go there to win a championship. What happens when you're 1-4? Are you still bought in? Are you still going to work every day and come with the same mentality and attitude? I actually think they go under their win total of 3.5.
Wait, Danny, the FSU on FSU crime here with you and Deion. Why do you think he would try to deny his FSU roots?
I think he really wanted to coach at Florida State. And I think he's upset that they didn't let him, give him the opportunity when they could have.
There you go. Little simmering tension between Deion and the university, and definitely tension between Deion and Danny.
The funny thing is, Danny was even being gracious there, saying he started his career at Florida State. He played his whole career at Florida State. Played 4 years at Florida State. Not even like today. So who's questioning that? I don't understand how Deion is claiming he didn't go to Florida State.
Well, because he got his degree somewhere else. Apparently,
he played 4 years of college football at Florida State. We all watched it. That's insane for him to say he's not a Seminole.
Well, and also, not only is he a Seminole, he's like, I think one of the only Seminoles has got his number retired. So here's what Deion Sanders wrote on social media back to Danny. He said, "My man ain't nobody, let me be me. I was him and still is. Your jersey only get retired if you're a dog, and I'm one of the greatest ever, and I was. Ain't nobody give me nothing. I took it and earned it. Stay out of grown folks' business. You have no idea what is what. The truth hurts."
I have no idea what he's talking about. Did Danny say he was confused a little bit by it? He's like, what does that have to do with Florida State?
Apparently, yeah. I mean, he's saying he got his jersey retired there. So clearly,
so he's sending mixed messages. So he is a Seminole.
I think Danny might be right. Maybe he was a little ticked off that he didn't get the FSU coaching job, possibly.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. But this is ridiculous that Deion is saying he's not from Florida State.
Yeah, or Danny thought he was trying to deny it a little bit. I don't know.
You know the last player of Deion's ability to stay 4 years at a college? Deion. He spent 4 years there. That's an eternity.
That is wild.
And he played baseball there. He's played more games at Florida State than anybody we know.
Well, maybe we'll have another chapter in this feud tomorrow. Thank you to Mike Samter. Thank you to Carlos Ortiz. Nice job today with those video games. You definitely stumped us. Thank you to Danny Cannell. Thank you to Martin Desmond Rowe, the director of BS High about Bishop Sycamore. If you miss any part of the show, download the Maggie and Perloff podcast. We'll see ya. Thanks to the Weekdays.